Hello and welcome everyone to the NECC. I am Palladino here with Fish. We've got a series coming up for you here very, very soon. Arcadia Knights versus the NJCU Gothic Knights. They're in draft right now, so outside of client, but we'll be getting into that regular draft here very, very soon. Fish, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Palladino. I think, we were just talking about this right before we went live. I think the hardest part of the day for me is going to be the Knights versus the Gothic Knights and trying to keep track of who is who. I've been mentally preparing for this, but I'm excited. I'm ready to see this and hopefully not to confuse the names more than like 3 times.
Yeah, that's the goal for sure. It will be hard to keep track of, but that's okay. We'll try and get it sorted, at the very least. Maybe just call them, we can call Arcadia just Arcadia. I think that'll hopefully fix our problems. But regardless, we've got this series coming at you very, very soon. Arcadia comes into this one 1-1 NJCU. We've got the lineups coming at you here in just a second. So you'll see we've got on the Rift here in game number 1. Arcadia Knights opting for Token Tail in the top lane, Bands GZ in the jungle, King Moron will be the host of the mid lane, and then in the bot lane we'll have JADMP and Vayu to round it out.
This Arcadia Knight squad got a lot of players. I know we're getting very close to that sort of roster lock-in stage, and as you said, Palladino coming in at 1-1. I think this might be that final week where you kind of got to figure out who's going in what lane, and you kind of have to lock it in for the rest of the season. So wouldn't shock me when we get some roster swaps in the series as they really try and hone in on that roster.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've got 9 listed members on their roster, so plenty of options to switch things out if they so decide who they're going to lock in. But we've got the NJCU Gothic Knights roster coming at you now. It'll be Heimer 007 in the top lane, Lil Enzo in the jungle, Neon Sonic will be in the mid lane, and in the bot lane for you today is She-Wolf, Ash, and the Sixth. So their roster a little bit smaller than their opponents tonight, Arcadia Knights, but still, definitely, some chances to see how these two will fare against one another. NJCU comes into this one 1-1 as well, so should be a pretty good series here to start in just a few minutes.
Yeah, both these teams, as you said, coming in at 1-1. Though on opposite paths, Arcadia did win week 1 before suffering their first loss of the season last week, while Gothic Knights for NJCU did pick up their first win last week. So maybe trending in different directions, maybe just a matchup thing. Probably both these teams, maybe something to keep an eye on as the season goes on. And I'm excited to hop into it. Kind of, that week 3, week 4 mark is kind of like going to make your move, Palladino. I think 1-1 you're okay with. But if you go down to like 1-2, 1-3, then I think your season starts to become a little bit more scary in terms of making the playoffs. So this is a big one for both these teams to kind of cement themselves in the upper echelon of our Emergence Northeast Division here as we enter sort of that middle stretch of our NECC season.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important to really find your stride, especially like you mentioned, as you approach the middle of the season, and both these teams certainly hoping to do that today. NJCU, like you mentioned, did win in week 2 despite dropping their first series in week number 1, so they want to go on a roll. Arcadia wants to get back on track and get themselves their second win, but should certainly be an interesting one. Both these teams pretty evenly matched, right around that gold elo average, so should be an exciting one. And like I mentioned, we already had the draft in an outside client. We've got that one finished up. It's pretty interesting from both teams, some conventional stuff, some non-conventional stuff as well. We're just a reminder when we do get into the draft that you'll just see everything picked in the champion order, not the order it was selected, but we've got it pulled up so we can tell you exactly where things were drafted. But we'll head to the ban phase now. Cassante is the first one taken off the table by NJCU. Not a surprise at all. Cassante, ever prevalent since his release.
Yeah, I think Cassante's definitely been kind of one of those pick bands. I think the other one that we're going to see right there for Arcadia, I know something that we were discussing, whether or not Aurelian Soul would make an appearance. The answer, at least in game number 1, is no. I know anytime a champion's reworked, you're always like, did Riot do it correctly? Is this going to be another 80% win rate champion? So I think Arcadia makes the right call, taking it away. The Zillion, the Amumu also banned the Echo as well here. And I'm always curious in game number 1, because there's not a lot of scouting Paladino, if these are more meta bands, as you mentioned with Cassante, maybe Aurelion Sol, or if they're, maybe trying to target some people on the other team. Kind of be curious to see as we get through this draft kind of what way they lean in terms of meta or just comfort here for both these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is important to kind of evenly value both, especially when you're coming in 1-1. I think it's important to value, what's strong, what you think you want to pick and what you want to play, but there's something to be said about picking comfort as well, and I think defaulting to locking in what you can play is always going to be strong as well. We'll see the top laners locked in first. I can tell you that this Ornn was locked in on R3 for Arcadia, so that one picked first rotation. The Fiora is the counter pick for Heimer. NJCU going to round out their top side with the Maokai and the Anivia. Anivia was blind picked on B5. We'll see the Olaf for Arcadia in the jungle. That was immediately responded to by the Maokai, which was, of course, picked up on B1. If anybody's getting Maokai these days, it's probably on B1. The R5 pick was for JDMP in the mid lane for Arcadia Knights, and it'll be the Syndra as the counter pick to the Anivia.
Yeah, I kind of like what the Gothic Knights did with that. Maokai, as you said, usually going to be picked up B1. You can either take it top or you could take it jungle. I like them kind of forcing the hand of Arcadia. They pull out the Ornn. They allow Heimer to get that counter pick in that second rotation, so I really do like that. Darius banned away, as you mentioned. Of course, they picked him in a little bit different order. That's why they're banning a top laner when they've already picked one in. But so that maybe as Arcadia maybe thought, oh, this might not be Maokai top. Let's kind of panic here a little bit. But I think right now Gothic Knights did a great job on that top side of the map, kind of winning that strategic battle at least.
Yeah, it looks strong. I mean, we mentioned the Ornn picked up on R3, was responded on B4 with the Fiora. Fiora always going to be good into tanks. Ornn is no exception. So especially if it can be piloted correctly, that Fiora can certainly snowball and become dominant in side lanes as you approach the mid to late game. We'll see the bot lanes locked in for both sides now. The Zeri was picked up on R2 for Arcadia Knights. The bot lane responded on B2, B3 for NJCU. They went with Kaisa Nautilus, something that has started to become more meta again, was really meta about a year and a half ago, and it's always going to be really strong with these dive comps. And then the response in the bot lane support role for Vayu will be the Morgana. Traditionally good pick into the Nautilus, of course. Into NECC, it's always going to be good. But you got to make sure. It is kind of a test. Whenever I play against the Morgana, I like to test things early and make sure that they're on their toes. You got to see if they're paying attention, if they can press the E key fast enough. So that'll certainly be the responsibility of Vayu here in this one.
I also kind of like the Morgana just fitting in as the Arcadia's initiator. Right outside of the Ornn, you really don't have a champion that wants to go in like the Maokai for the Gothic Knights. So I like that you pick that binding. You give yourself some sort of way to start a fight. Of course, as you said, maybe Vayu will be back just trying to peel for King Moron. We'll have to see. But I do think that is the one thing where I look at Arcadia and I say, okay, besides an Ornn, which can either be really, really good, or as you and I know, Paladino, we've seen, can be really, really bad. I like the fact they at least gave themselves another option, because there's really not a lot. Yeah, you can throw the Olaf axe. I mean, the slow, not too crazy. So I do like that they have some form of solid go that isn't an ultimate with a long cooldown.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think certainly the hope for their engage will, of course, be the Ornn if you can, but also Syndra Stun always going to be fairly reliable if you can land it. Of course, Morgana Snare feels like you're CC'd for about 15 years when you get hit by it, so always an easy engage tool as well. I'll be interested to see how both these compositions play out. A little bit more traditional for what we've seen in the meta so far here for NJCU. Of course, we talked about the Maokai. Now that these melee supports are finally getting buffed, so we are starting to see less and less of the double AD carry bot lanes. We see Nautilus picked up as well. A lot of good objective control, of course, for NJCU, almost solely because of the Maokai. Setting up for these objectives is so easy. And thankfully for the NJCU Gothic Knights here in this one, we are not on patch 13.4 yet, so Maokai is still relevant enough for now. So we'll see how both these teams opt to play out. I mean, now that we've seen both these comps and what they decide to go for in game number one, Fish, who are you favoring into this one?
Oh man, you put me on the spot. You gonna counter my prediction?
I think I do this. I do this most times we guess together, but somebody's got to do it. I got to know what you think.
Oh man, I'm gonna lean towards the side of NJCU. I think the Gothic Knights just have a comp that feels more consistent. You have a lot more consistent goes with the Nautilus ult, with the Maokai ult. You even have the Anivia wall, the Anivia stun. It just feels like I think the Gothic Knights are gonna find more consistent ways to target down Arcadia, as we talked about, outside of the Ornhorn. You're maybe looking for a Syndra stun, you're maybe looking for Morgana binding, but I just feel like those Gothic Knights ults are more powerful. So give me the Gothic Knights here in game one, Paladino. I expect a lot of value from this Nautilus and this Maokai.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think one of the things that I really value personally when I'm either watching competitive games or playing in my own is I think there's something to be said about champs who are press R to win and make things really, really easy. Maokai and Nautilus both do those things, especially when we saw Zeri's release early on, and she was super meta in Worlds last year and in the competitive scene a little while ago, just a few short months back. Nautilus was the traditional pick. I mean, Zeri wants to get in, she wants to stack the ultimate. She can't do that once Nautilus presses R, so that was a really good pick initially by NJCU. I think their engage is a lot easier. Of course, you have the Maokai for just zone control in general and an easy engage tool, of course, with the Nature's Grasp. Nautilus always going to be looking for those hook angles, and even more for zone control. The interesting blind pick that we're seeing from NJCU with that Anivia. Of course, you have infinite wave clear once you reach those later levels, and of course, as well, with the new changes we saw just a few months ago to, of course, the addition of Rod of Ages in preseason, then the Seraph changes we saw after that. Anivia has been incredibly strong in solo queue at the very least, sitting well above a 50% win rate for a while. So lots of build options as well. You can go scaling with Rod of Ages Seraphs, and also makes you super, super tanky with the new Lifeline passive of the Seraphs, or you can go more damage focused with things like Leandries. It's all up to the user. I think a lot of this game is also sort of dependent on these top lane matchups as well, something that isn't often said, but I think Fiora, if you're able to get snowballing, as I mentioned when we talked about it in draft, is just such a side lane threat, and I really don't think that Arcadia have the means to match that here in game number one. I mean, you know that when Fiora hits 2 items, Ornn can no longer match solo in those side lanes, and I really don't think Syndra can either. So I'll be interested to see how both these sides play out. Objective fights, especially later, and then side lane pressure, of course, as we approach the mid to late game.
No, you took the point right out of my mouth, Paladino. I was going to say, I think that something that is really you got to keep your eye on in particular is Heimer, and I think, as you talked about, once Fiora hits that certain spot, no one can match her in a side lane. But side lane play is one of those things that I think, especially for some teams, is a lot easier said than done.
Absolutely.
I mean, if Heimer gets ahead, does he push? Does he make sure he always goes to team fights? I've seen that struggle a lot, where it's like, hey, you're all the gold, we need you in team fights, but it's like, if you just that person push, they could easily win you the game at 30 minutes. So I think, depending on how well Heimer knows how to split push, is going to be something that's very interesting. So that's kind of the side I look at. As you said, Fiora should win this matchup, but how Heimer plays it once he hits those 2 items is something I think you got to keep your eye on. If he's kind of bouncing back and forth, running to a team fight, then running top, missing waves, not pushing, I think that really will go benefit the side of Token Tail. But we'll have to see as we hop into game number 1 on the Rift.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, it is 100% one of the more difficult things to balance in the competitive scene, is knowing when to split, when you have those angles, and when you need to rotate for these fights. We'll see if we get anything fancy at level 1. We'll see Arcadia opt for the 5-point stance, but now Vayu could be in some trouble. I think they saw him. The 6th now going to land the hook. Glacial Augment means Vayu in a lot of trouble. Stunned up and will fall. Great work from the side of the Gothic Knights here in this one, as they instantly grab first blood. Just a perfect chain of CC. Vayu doesn't even get the chance to blow the flash, and the first blood gold is now in the pocket of She-Wolf Ash.
Yeah, that was a fantastic start for the Gothic Knights. We didn't quite get to see if Vayu had picked an ability. I know the smart play usually never level up an ability. In that situation, you maybe could have leveled up Black Shield. Black Shielded the hook in time to be able to get away, but unfortunately didn't cast anything. So that's something out there. If you walk into the lane and you're just like, all right, I always start Q, hold it for just a little bit, because you never know when you might need a different ability than the normal one you go with. But unfortunately, Vayu does give up first blood, and the Gothic Knights get a fantastic start. As you said, couldn't have it on a better player than your AD carry for She-Wolf Ash, and everybody getting assists. That is so huge. You're already up 600 gold. and the minions are just now barely crashing.
Yeah, I mean, she's in a great position now. It's always going to feel good, especially when you get that first blood on the AD carry, but even more so when the AD carry is then able to base and not miss any of this XP. At least I don't think that they did. It feels fantastic for your lane state, so they're certainly in a position to fight here, and way more combat stats on the side of the Gothic Knights as well. You've got a dagger and a longsword for She-Wolf Ashe, whereas it's a cold start for King Moron, so definitely more scaling, which is what Zeri wants to do, of course, but if they get all in, it's not easy to play. We'll just see some trading up here in the top side, but it is important to note these junglers did start on opposite sides, so the odds they run into each other on their first clear are pretty low, as we got one clearing towards bot, as Ban's GZ heads onto his wolves, and Lil Enzo goes to his wolves as well. But both junglers, at least for now, looking to get a full clear off. Nice parry means that Token Tail will be able to take some damage here from Heimer, and I mean, that's how the matchup goes. Fiora certainly going to spike a little bit more once you get things like the Divine Sunderer, but those vitals hurt starting at level 1.
I'm shocked that Bands didn't either opt for like at least a level 2 play, make yourself known, keep Heimer on his toes. The fact that he's leaving Token Tail all alone, and as we've established in a matchup that is not going to favor him, is very interesting to me, especially now that your bot lane's a little bit behind. Nice, as you said, getting the vitals there for Heimer. So it's a very curious start for Bands GZ in the side of Arcadia. Would have liked to see him go top side here and kind of help out this Ornn, because I don't know where Olaf goes after he finishes this blue buff besides picks up the scuttle and kind of just resets.
Yeah, it is interesting. I understand the thought process of wanting to path towards the bot lane because your bot lane opponents are a very kill-centric lane with the Nautilus and the Kai'Sa, but you have double ranged on Arcadia, so they're usually going to have this wave state where it's more on the side of the Gothic Knights, so it's really hard to get any ganks off. Maybe you're trying to counter gank, but you know that She-Wolf Ashe and the 6 started with a leash, but now Neon Sonic could be in some trouble. Forced to flash over the Raptor's wall means that's a summoner spell down on this Anivia. Won't be anything else, but a nice work from the side of Arcadia to at least force a summoner spell out of the Anivia. Of course, ganking Anivia, not always fun with the egg, so we'll see if they're able to punish the mobility-less frozen bird here in the mid lane in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, JAD landed a couple of great stuns on that Syndra. They did lose the Ghost for Bands as well. Maybe trying to just pop that egg form setup for a future gank. Unfortunately, now that Olaf not going to have Ghost, not going to be able to chase people down for the next couple of minutes, especially if we see something early at this next dragon that is spawning in 10 seconds here. You already have Little Enzo down, and Little Enzo is going to have, I think, an unwarded gank here.
Yeah, plenty of options here. The 6 can flash forward if he chooses, but instead just going to look onto King Moron. Black Shield will stop the root at the very least, but now Lil Enzo coming up. King Moron is going to follow, but cancels him out of it. Now King Moron forced to flash away. Will stay alive for now. Lil Enzo now the one in trouble. Ghost pop by King Moron, looking to trade onto this Maokai, going to take the damage from the sapling. Heal keeps Lil Enzo slightly healthier, but they're going to turn their focus onto King Moron. Root comes forward. The 6 will pick up the kill. King Moron has fallen. They're going to turn their focus now on Vayu, and She-Wolf Ashe will get the flash out of the Morgana. W lands, but the damage is not there. So 2 kills now on the board here in game number 1, and both of them in the hands of each of the bot laners for NJCU Gothic Knights.
It started out as a great play by King Moron, kind of baited over into the corner, dashed across the wall so that Maokai was going to get dragged close to the tower, but the fact that he turned around trying to kill a Maokai of all things as well, who is deceptively tanky, especially with that passive, able to get a decent bit of healing. Feels like Arcadia maybe already was in that spot, Paladino, especially after losing first blood. They didn't want to get further behind in lane with an early back, but to lose a kill there, I don't know if it was worth it there for King Moron to try and get on the aggressive.
Yeah, the idea there is good. The only problem is that I think I understand the turn. You pop the Ghost, try to get things back onto Lil Enzo, but you know that this Kai'Sa still has heal. Well, first, before we get to that, Heimer could be in some trouble as he gets rotated on up here on the top lane. Token Tail going to use the Ornhorn. Nice parry means that Heimer's still alive. Stun will not land from JD, but the flash still forced from this Fiora. Not what you're hoping for if you're Heimer, but you do survive the gank, and it guarantees that your side will get the Drake once that Olaf shows in the top lane. So the first neutral objective will be secured by the Gothic Knights. But back to what I was talking about with that bot lane gank, I understand what you're doing. You mentioned going down into the corner. Zeri has the ability to dash over that wall. So you see the Maokai tank a tower shot. You think you can get him, but She-Wolf still has heal. And then all those abilities, those abilities cooldowns come back up. So Maokai has W again. The 6 gets hook again. And the passive cooldown is no longer still on cooldown for King Moron. So he gets rooted up by the Nautilus. Just not playing around cooldowns well enough. And unfortunately will fall. But still has a bit of a CS lead, King Moron. So down some gold, but not too much. But in combat stats, you can definitely see She-Wolf Ash much stronger. Noon Quiver and Crit Cloak already picked up. And only attack speed boots for King Moron. So needs to play a little bit more defensive. It's implied that was going to happen anyways with the Cole. But we'll see how this one plays out now. As the Gothic Knights have a bit of a lead here as we approach the 8-minute mark. Just not quite up 1k gold.
I'm really curious what value is maxing first. I mean, as we talked about, the root from Morgana, especially at max rank, feels like it lasts forever, which is a great disengage tool. But you lose about 2 seconds off the cooldown of Black Shield per spell rank. So I want to say maxing spell shield is maybe the play here, but again, we can't quite see his value. Uh-oh, he's going to go forward and get caught.
Yeah, and plenty of trouble. The hook will land. King Moron going to look first. Black Shield goes down on to the Zeri, trying to get one back on a She-Wolf Ash. Not going to find it yet, but we'll finally get that one. The Nature's Graph not going to find anything, but the auto now on to King Moron. It's just a matter of if they have the damage, and it looks like they do. Little Enzo grabs the kill. A good gank from the Maokai secures that it's at least a 2-4-1 in favor once again of the Gothic Knights. Heimer could be in some trouble. Decently low here, but dodges out on that axe, so is just fine for now. Neon Sonic hovering around this Rift Herald. This is a good rotation from Arcadia as they see Maokai show on that bot lane, so they're going to go ahead and immediately start taking this Herald and try to get a trade of neutral objectives. Neon Sonic now getting turned on by JAD, but not going to find enough damage just yet. Syndra, very scaling a mid laner, needs those items to start applying a lot of damage. This one should certainly go over to the hands, not going to smite away. Bans GZ now looking on at Fiora. No parry means that Heimer should certainly fall, but the Nautilus has made his way up to the top lane. Token Tail now forced to flash away. Still alive for now. 1 HP will finally go down to Heimer. They're going to turn their focus on to JAD. Double kill over to the Gothic Knights, and now Ban's in some trouble, and nobody picked up the Herald. Ban's, his ult has expired. He can now be CC'd. Little Enzo going to pick up that kill. Great roam from the 6. Good timing, knowing that that Herald is being taken. Comes up there. Huge impact from the support, and no one falls on the side of the Gothic Knights. No one gets the Herald, as it will just despawn, but that's perfect if you're NJCU. You don't get it, but neither does Arcadia, and now this gold lead has ballooned to over 2,000 gold. Seven to 1 is the lead for the Gothic Knights here as we approach the 11-minute mark. I mean, just so much good work from them. I know Fish is having some technical issues, but we'll get him back here in just a second. Nothing to be too concerned about, but big leads across the map for everyone here on the side of NJCU. The one thing keeping everyone at least ahead or even as close as they could be for Arcadia is the farm lead, almost up 30 in the bot lane. As the Nature's Grasp going to go down on to Token Tail, but he's just going to dash on out, so not in any lethal damage range. Big CS lead in the mid lane as well, 87 to 66 for JADMP. It will be the Rod of Ages for the Anivia. Much more to be expected here. Very, very good scaling, and of course, a lot of safety as well. When you hit that 10 stacks, so much HP and plenty of AP as well. So this Anivia will certainly be difficult to kill. We got this next dragon spawning in 17 seconds. It will be the Hextech Drake coming up now. Bans will take a little bit of damage first from the Neon Sonic Anivia, but nothing else to be found. They'll just clear out some vision here. We'll see who decides to take this first step onto the Drake. The 6 now going to clear away this ward. The bottom crab was taken by Arcadia, so they'll certainly know if the side of the Gothic Knights opt to rotate onto this Drake, but they won't just yet. She will fashion the 6th, instead just going to push this one in. They're now going to get rotated on in the 6th. Could be in some trouble first. First going to root up King Moron. They're going to turn their focus first onto the Nautilus. Lorenzo is here, but Nautilus might die straight away. Won't go down yet. She will fast, uses the killer instinct. Looking first on a King Moron, but won't find him yet. Gets stunned by the Morgana ult and will fall. Double kill to the Zeri, and Lorenzo is running for the hills. And this Drake will go to the side of Arcadia. Great turn there by the side of the Knights as they pick up those kills. I mean, Olaf just much stronger in these ganks right now, especially when Zeri's got that ultimate up. And now 3 kills on King Moron on the scaling 80 carry. Could be in trouble potentially for the side of the Gothic Knights, but they've still got a small lead in this one. At one point it was approaching 3k, now down to just under 1k as they pick up that Hextech Drake. Will be an Ocean Soul here in game number 1. I think we've got Fish back as Neon Sonic could be in some trouble. Just going to flash away as Bands tries to land the slow with the axe. But quite a bit of a turn here. Heimer now learning his focus on a JAD, and flashing forward means that Heimer goes on a killing spree right away, and Bands low as well. One more Q, doesn't even need it. Neon Sonic picks up the kill. Great roam timer from Heimer. Secures the 2 kills for the side of the Gothic Knights, and now their lead will go back up to about 2,000 gold once again. Fine go land from Vayu, but won't result in anything as the 6 just looks for some deep vision.
Yeah, the shocking gameplay from the Gothic Knights, unfortunately, just it was too much for my computer to handle. But I am back, Paladino. I am here, and I can see that our predictions from the draft, especially you're the one you called it. This Fiora kind of popping off right now, 3-0-3, and that's been the difference maker early on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, really good play when we saw the 6th move up towards that Rift Herald. Just allowed for a turn. Neon Sonic now going to turn their focus on a JAD MP. No flash on this Syndra means that the 6th should be able to land this hook, but not going to throw it quite yet. Token Tail walking down as well. Double stun on to those 2. They'll land the hook first on to this Ornn, and this Syndra stands no chance. Will fall as Neon Sonic picks up the kill, and Token Tail is just forced to walk away. But Heimer, he's looking for more on to Bands, up 2 levels on this Olaf, but not going to find anything yet, as both sides are just going to try to walk away. But it looks like the Gothic Knights want this red buff. The 6 now decently low as Berserk goes Bands, turning their focus first, but King Moron is here as, King Moron just got a solo kill down there. Bands now popping off as he gets 2. The 6th and Neon Sonic will both fall. The Olaf still alive. Root lands on to Heimer. He turns his focus now onto the Morgana. She will finally fall, and Lorenzo going to grab the kill onto the Olaf. Only one left alive is Token Tail, but King Moron has made his way to the top lane. Let's see if they want to go on this Olaf, because I think they know this Zeri is here, and Zeri no ult could mean trouble. Parry goes down, gives Heimer the kill. 600 gold now into the pocket of King Moron. Stun will land. Great stun. Means that Heimer is 1 HP, but should be able to get out of here just fine. King Moron cannot catch. Kraken Slayer Zeri is very, very scary indeed. And 5 kills now means a very strong 80 carry for the side of Arcadia. A nice stun secures the shutdown gold for King Moron. A good rotation. And on the way up, King Moron killed She Wolf Ash as well. So that early lead for that we saw from the First Blood, really not able to amount to much, as King Moron putting on a show here on this Zeri.
Yeah, that play for King Moron, absolutely fantastic. I think the target focus for both teams there in that team fight was a little off. You saw Bands spend a ton of time trying to kill that Anivia egg and paid off, and then Heimer kind of got tunnel vision, tried to chase down Bands, had Morgana with the Vital facing for him, easily could have just turned around and one-shot him, but kept chasing Bands, ended up getting rooted before he turned around. So maybe sometimes you just gotta attack the closest target. And Paladino, this is kind of in the situation for the Gothic Knights that we discussed in the draft, right? You've got Heimer at 5-0-4. He's not all of the gold on his team, but he's a decent chunk of it. What does he do? Does he split push? Does he join his team for team fights like we just saw? It's going to be a very interesting decision, because I think that is going to make or break the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you mentioned, lots of gold on this Fiora, so we'll see what the decision is. We already saw Heimer once make a nice roam down to the middle lane to impact this Syndra and keep on scaling this Anivia. but has certainly got himself a lead up some CS and of course plenty of kills as well. That finished Divine Sunderer means these trades onto the Ornn are even easier now. Bands going to walk in here to try and clear out some vision. 35 seconds on this Drake as both teams have got one. We've seen item spikes finished across the Rift on everyone except for Token Tail and the two supports. The Demonic Embrace already picked up for the Maokai, ever prevalent on the Ancient Tree, as just so much damage comes out from these saplings. And it will be the Glass Cannon Maokai build. It is important to note that it would appear he's going to opt into that Leandry. So not a very tanky Maokai, but will do plenty of damage with these saplings. And I mentioned earlier on, even before we got into this one, that the objective control is there for the side of the Gothic Knights, but as you can see, Arcadia not even allowing for it. So now they're kind of on the back foot, as we're going to see the Nature's Grasp go down and only root up 2, as Bands GZ and JADMP will both get hit by that one, and you see the sapling damage taking everyone down quite a bit. Lorenzo can keep on chucking these into the bush. Heimer has not moved down for this Drake yet, is just going to opt for that first turret top lane, and it looks like Arcadia are just going to get this one for themselves. Lorenzo starting to walk in, the bind will not land, the Ornhorn coming down now, Token Tail lands it on to 1, the 6 stunned up as well. We'll see if he's able to fall first, hooks onto the wall to try to keep himself alive, but Bands is just going to pick that one up for now, taking some damage, so forced to run away. So it's just the kill and the Drake for Arcadia. Great work on that objective to not only secure it and get themselves one step closer to the soul, but also turning it for a kill. But important to note, across the map here, with that fight going on, I mentioned it before, Heimer did not leave the top lane. He got tier 1 and tier 2. That's the power of the Fiora split push. The Rift Herald also securing the mid tier 1. So even though a kill and the objective go to the side of Arcadia, the Gothic Knights get lots of standing gold on map. They're now up 3,000.
Yeah, I don't know if that dragon was worth it, as you mentioned, the 3 towers falling. I thought that was a great call by Heimer. I thought when that Nature's Grasp landed onto, I believe it was Bands, maybe we're going to see the teleport come in, because it really feels like the Gothic Knights are playing around that Nature's Grasp. That kind of is their we're going to go in button, but they were just buying time, as we saw, and this was an excellent play. Because of the fact they split the early dragons, they don't have to worry about a potential soul point for another 3+ minutes. That's plenty of time for Heimer to maybe pick up that bot tier 1, that bot tier 2, maybe even look for a top inhibitor, kind of depending on where he wants to push. I think Gothic Knights have realized their win condition, and they've still got to do it properly for the next 10-11 minutes, Paladino, but I think this top split push might end up paying huge dividends for them if they can play it properly around this next dragon and around any potential barons that could start here in the next few minutes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think they've certainly noticed that this Fiora is very, very strong, and picking up 2 towers worth of gold, especially those side lane tier 2s, are worth so much. But now Neon Sonic could be in some trouble, has the 6, the hover, but Bands has got access to that ultimate, just going to pop it right away, turning the focus onto Neon Sonic. So much damage going down onto this Anivia, and Vayu lands the root for good measure. The 6 tries to keep him alive, but this is a 4 versus 2. JAD secures that kill with the unleashed power, and finally the Syndra grabs themselves a kill. This bot tier 1 will certainly fall as 4 members of Arcadia move on down for that play and get themselves their second tower of the game. Mid tier 1 fell just a few minutes ago. Heimer still up here being a menace in the top side as he takes away Band's red buff, and the gold lead is sort of fluctuating. It's been in favor of the Gothic Knights here for a while now, but has gone up and down and is attempted. We'll see if it remains stagnant here at about 1.5k at the 21-minute mark. 2 minutes on this Drake. I think, Fish, I don't know about you, but what I would like to see the Gothic Knights do here is bring Heimer to the bot lane. You saw the split push power. I think, in my opinion, that next objective is that bot tier 1, and your strongest contender to take it will be this Fiora, but we'll have to see what they decide to do here with this Drake spawning in a minute 45.
Yeah, it really seems like they want to get these early super minions with how often Heimer's hanging up in that top side, not even coming down. Almost got to pick onto Bands, but the wall not high enough rank yet to quite close off this gap. I'm with you. I think rotate Heimer down, unless you think you want super minions, they do force a flash from that Morgana.
Flash forward coming out now from the 6th, but that just means his demise. He will fall. Vayu ticking fairly low, but I don't think the burn is there. It is. Little Enzo grabs the kill. Hey, you don't see red smite taken very often, but that secures that one. Nice parry. Will not get a stun, but will not mean a knockup for Heimer, but now he's forced to flash away. The knockup will not land, but he's in plenty of trouble. King Moron looking to chase him down, but not going to find him just yet. Neon Sonic now walking up, gets the wall and the stun on the Token Tail. 273 damage is quite a bit to this no magic resist Ornn, but not going to find the kill just yet. He is taken low, but now the health bar advantage is certainly in favor of the side of the Gothic Knights. As this Drake spawns in 35 seconds, I think most sides will take a reset here and try to prepare for this objective. Heimer will head to base. Doubt he's got much of an item to sit on. Yeah, just going to buy 2 control wards, but 40 stacks on the Ravenous Hydra with the Divine Sunderer already finished up there. He's just going to walk straight towards this bot lane. We'll see all 5 members of the Gothic Knights heading towards this Drake. Token Tail is going to hit the reset, but does have the teleport. I imagine we'll see that one taken very, very soon. No Ornhorn for when this spawns. That's really their only main initiation tool unless a root lands onto an important member, but we'll have to see. Teleport not going to be used just yet. Heimer uses the parry on the root. Not a bad decision, but that's a long cooldown. We'll see if that has an impact. He's got 2 points in it now, at least at level 14. So cooldown reduced a little bit. Both these teams dancing around one another, trying to find their angle in. Right now, Arcadia has access to the river. They're just going to use the Nature's Grasp right away. Zeri will dash on over. A lot of damage going down onto the Morgana. Vayu taken low, but King Moron goes unstoppable first, and now Heimer's low as well. The focus of the Olaf means that he will get shut down. She will bash, now very low as well. The 6th not quite going to get knocked up, but Zeri doing so much damage. JAD grabs the kill onto the Nautilus, and that is the power of having these early kills onto this AD carry as they win that fight with ease. She-Wolf Ash does not fall, but taken way too low. Neon Sonic is plenty healthy, but no jungler on the map for either side. Neon Sonic could go for steal, but not going to get it. So Soul Point for Arcadia with a winning fight to go along with it.
I think this full burst Maokai is really starting to bite the Gothic Knights in the butt, because I mean, Lil Enzo, I mean, he has to go in, right? I mean, the sapling dream setup, they all walk into a bush and they just blow up and it just says pentakill and everyone pats you on the back. It's just simply not going to happen, and he's dashing in and dying immediately because he doesn't have that sustain. I really think if the Gothic Knights want to sort of stay in this game, outside of course, the Heimer split push, but as they lose these team fights, that becomes less and less valuable. I think Enzo has got to pivot to a tankier build. Otherwise, he just doesn't have value in team fights that they need from a Maokai that you would expect from a Maokai Paladino. And that was the big thing. I mean, sure, he gets a Nature's Grasp on a 2. Sure, that Nature's Grasp chunked Vayu. But the follow-up, he just died in 2 shots from King Moron.
Yeah, I think if I'm the Gothic Knights, that fight really shows you that if you cannot insta-kill this Zeri, the fight is really, really hard to win. And even Bans is very, very strong as well, just instantly killing Heimer. But that was also on top of a lot of damage from King Moron, and you can see the difference. Up 80 CS in the 80 carry role. Very, very difficult. We saw, like I mentioned, that early gold lead on She-Wolf Ash did not pan out too much, as that 3rd item will almost be finished soon. Probably going to be picked up now by King Moron. But I think if you're the Gothic Knights, just send this Fiora to the side lane. You don't want to have Heimer have to match this Ornn anymore. Send him to the bot lane, have somebody else match the Ornn, probably the Anivia. Go 1-3-1 and let Heimer get to work on these towers, because that's where you need your pressure to be. I don't think you're winning 5v5s. 3 items to 1 is the difference between these 280 carries, as the hook will land on the Vayu, so could get a pick here. Black Shield not used yet and will not matter. So She-Wolf Ash gets that kill. So that is a pick. It's only on the support, however, so they won't turn their focus onto the Baron just yet if they decide to do so. But Heimer's going to start hitting it. Little Enzo here to help as well. We're going to see a TP coming out from JAD. Keep in mind, Neon Sonic is not here, but has TP, so this is a 4v4 to start. They're going to turn their focus right away onto the Syndrome, and now King Moron going in, and he's looking for the play, but the parry comes down. King Moron can't fall, but will not go down just yet. Bans DZ gets 1. Heimer goes down and she will flash, will get the kill onto King Moron, but it's a winning fight for Arcadia. Double kill to the Olaf. They use absolutely everything from the Nautilus onto this Syndra, and in theory that's a numbers advantage, but Neon Sonic not there to help, and they cannot kill this Zeri fast enough, so Heimer will fall, and Syndra has gotten to a point, 2 items now, does plenty of damage herself, so it's a winning fight not only for Arcadia, but a Baron Nashor as well.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Baron call if there's not a River Scuttle ward up, right? You know there's vision. It's not like you're trying to sneak it in. We just killed their support. They're not going to have consistent warding. No, you're doing this on top of the River Scuttle ward. So I think that was maybe a panic Baron. It feels like I think the Gothic Knights can kind of tell this game is getting away from them. As you pointed out, King Moron, 6-3 and 7. He survived what I would really call their full combo. They got him underneath Heimer. I believe Lorenzo was there as well, and he barely survives, and they're able to turn that fight around. If anything, these last 2 fights have basically confirmed the only win condition for the Gothic Knights is going to be Heimer on that split push, but he's losing his advantage. He has only added a chain vest to his inventory since that last fight. He's not getting gold anymore because he's not able to CS waves. I really think the Gothic Knights are going to have to just kind of live on a crazy split push, try and maybe get a Miracle Dragon steal here in the next minute, because I think if we go 5v5 at Dragon, that's effectively GG Arcadia, because they are winning all of these team fights.
Yeah, you know you're not winning this 5v5 anymore, and especially if this Ocean Soul is picked up in 50 seconds. Ocean Soul is not only innately strong itself, it is incredibly strong for Arcadia. You see the itemization. Radiant Virtue picked up for Token Tail means that he will get the innate healing for himself and his allies. Lots of healing in the kit of this Olaf. Gore Drinker, Ravenous Hydra, and the Spirit Visage picked up. And of course the Bloodthirster on King Moron means there is so much healing on this team. Ocean Soul only increasing that as well means quite a bit, and a very hard deficit for NJCU to opt into. They will keep Heimer in the top lane for now, and I really don't think they can contest this one. King Moron just going to dash on over and turn his focus on Lorenzo, and he's getting shredded. Heal will keep him alive. She will bash, defends her jungler. Heimer will not get hit by the stun, but will get hit by the axe, trying to survive. Heimer not quite below half HP yet. King Moron finally going to use the lightning crash, looking first onto both these members. King Moron grabs one, looking for the second, grabs two. Lorenzo is the next target, flashing forward. King Moron gets another triple kill for the AD carry. Will certainly fall under tower. Finally goes down, but not before grabbing 3 kills, as that 4th goes to this Syndra. And just the Gothic Knights, they're not able to find anything in this one. They had that early lead, but this team fight is so strong. The advantages on this Zeri are really showing. And now that is a guaranteed Ocean Soul for Arcadia.
Yeah, that teleport from Heimer, it's just, I don't know what he was hoping for. As you said, Lil Enzo had gotten caught. He had barely survived. The heal from She Will Bash really would have kind of kept him at least at 20%. But at that point, you concede the dragon. You keep Heimer up in the top lane. Maybe he can take down Token Tail. Because the one thing is, Arcadia is clearly showing they have confidence in Token Tail. They are very rarely sending anyone else to help them up. And more often than not, there's 4 members bot side basically saying, hey, Token Tail, you're in a 1v1 against Heimer on the Fiora. All the stats and the casters say you should lose that matchup, but we believe in you. And I'm not going to say he's winning it, but he's not losing it. He's playing it perfectly. And I think the Gothic Knights, we talked about this, Paladino, as we said, learning how to split push top, one of the hardest things to do. It looks easy on paper, and unfortunately, I think this is a class example of why sometimes you can have this big lead on a champion that can split push, and it can just come back to bite you because you never know what you need to be doing if it's being in team fights or helping your team.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. Token Tail, it's a losing matchup for the Ornn, especially when Fiora scales like this, level 16, but he's done his job. I mean, the inhibitor tower is still up. He's not dying in isolation, and he's defending these objectives. So Heimer really not able to split push, and especially when you have a split pusher, and I talked about it probably almost 15 minutes ago at this point, maybe a little bit longer, the bot tier 1 is still up. They need to send Heimer to this bottom lane to try and continue to apply this pressure. You do not need all 5 members in the top lane, especially when Arcadia only has 4. We see that JAD is just going to continue pushing here, and this bot tier 2 now in some trouble, especially with Syndra having both of these needlessly large rods in the inventory. And you can see Token Tail showing the benefit of this Ornn in the late game is nearly everyone's got their item upgrades. We will see that one coming down. Flash forward goes out from Little Enzo. They're trying to get a kill here early on. Double knock up as She Will Fast finally going to come on in. The healing coming in. King Moron not going to fall yet as Banshee gets one. King Moron will fall in response. Shutdown goes over to Heimer. But Vans has already got two, turning the focus onto the Fiora. Nice dash keeps him alive for now, but we'll see how much longer that will last. The 6th at 1 HP, but remaining alive. Token Tail planking plenty of damage. Heimer trying to get the sustain, but not going to find it. Vans GZ goes unstoppable. Make it 2 for the Olaf. 10 kills for the Arcadia jungler, and they win that one easily with just King Moron falling.
And again, the Gothic Knights just unfortunately not on the same page, because right before that fight breaks out, Neon Sonic burns the teleport to go bot lane to try and stop JAD, but that felt like that last-ditch effort. All right, throw the Nature's Grasp, throw everything. If you maybe have numbers, unfortunately Neon Sonic does flash away. Unfortunately, I don't know if he'll save that tower. I just don't think they're on the same page, Paladino. I think one body wanted to go in, the other didn't, and that's why they lost the tower and didn't find much of anything in that fight except their lone kill.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you keep Neon Sonic up there on the top lane, the engage looked good. You had the Nature's Grasp, I think root all 4, double knock up from the Nautilus ult. It looked good, but it was only a 4v4, and you know you lose the 5v5, and maybe you win the 5v4, but even that is close, and we saw the strength of other members getting fed. I mean, we've talked a lot about how strong King Moron is on this Zeri, but Vans GZ, he is plenty strong as well. 4 items now on this Olaf. He is just shredding everyone, and now you're going to see as well JAD with the finished death cap here on the Syndra. Finished death cap as well for Anivia, but just not able to get involved in these team fights as of late. Baron is the focus here for Arcadia. And finally, they move Heimer to the bot lane to hit this bot tier 1. That will be an objective bounty, but I think even if the Gothic Knights know that they're on the Baron, they know they cannot contest. That one falls right away. Heimer has a good push here in the bot lane, could potentially get this second objective bounty, but I think he's got to be careful here as multiple members reset. It will certainly fall just because of how much damage this Fiora does onto these towers, but at first I thought they were going to have more members respond to the Heimer, but instead just opting to continue this push in the mid wave. Token Tail will pick up the wave. So a lot of gold once again on this Fiora. Picked up the Sterex Gauge. Will hopefully allow him to stay alive for longer, but they finally do what I think should have been their goal 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, because that Baron at this stage of the game especially, it doesn't do a whole lot. Yes, it has the Baron-empowered minions. Yes, it can help them siege some of these inhibitor turrets. You have an Anivia. Anivia should have good enough wave clear, especially because we're not really seeing a 1-3-1 come out. It's just seeing Arcadia shove down one lane at a time. And I'm with you. 20 minutes ago, Heimer needed to do this. He needs to find a way to get super minions in a lane. I don't know if that's even going to be possible. Maybe he finds a pick on Devayu here, and we have a 5v4 Elder Drake. But even then, he walks away, and I think this is all in a little Enzo Miracle Elder Drake steal, Paladino. I don't see another way in, because I don't think they kill King Moron and Ban's GZ in the same team fight that they win.
Yeah, I doubt it. I think their only hope, if Elder is even on the table here, is Arcadia just going to opt to hit both these inhibitors instead, is you have to get a pick. You know that you lose this Elder 5v5, and now Neon Sonic potentially in some trouble, but going to survive for now. We'll see Vans take a reset. Vayu starts to channel his as well, but won't find it yet. So mostly everyone on the side of Arcadia attempting to reset. Heimer going to go for the all-in onto Token Tail, and if you can get a pick on the Ornn before the Elder spawns, that will feel pretty good. Ult going to come down, going to give Token Tail some healing from the Radiant Virtue, but it will be a pick. So Heimer has defeated this Ornn in isolation for the first time, this one, on this Fiora. So that makes this Elder fight a 5v4, but there's going to be super minions coming in mid and top. In theory, someone has to respond to these. They're going to start hitting this now. Little Enzo going to walk in and try to get some of the saplings down to land this damage. JAD bases and instantly TPs onto the mid wave. It will be a 5v4 here on the Elder, but keep in mind, Token Tail has teleport here in 30 seconds. Stun going to land onto 2. The 6 going to turn his focus now onto the Syndra, opts to ult the Syndra. JD forced the flash away. King Moran gonna get out of there as well. Vayu going in. Heimer picks up a nice look onto the Syndra. She will fall, but now it's Bans chasing down this. Anivia has eggs, so we'll stay alive for a little bit longer. Lorenzo has picked up Vayu, and now it's a double kill as King Moran will fall. So the team fight is a win for the Gothic Knights. And now Bans will look towards the base. So Elder is the focus here for the Gothic Knights, but this is what I was talking about. Token Tail has TP and a large wave here, and they need someone to respond. Heimer gonna come on out, but that's one Nexus turret down and the Demolish proc not used. Token Tail needs to get the auto down, and then now this tower taken very low. Bans is the focus of Heimer. Elder picked up, so certainly the advantage here as the carry goes down. CC immune is still the Olaf. Bans looking for Heimer. Heimer trying to get the sustain, not able to yet. The axe will land, but he remains alive. Knock-up damage will not find it, but no Nexus turrets now for the Gothic Knights, so they have Elder for a little bit, but now Super's coming into their base, and truthfully, all that Arcadia needs to do now is just wait out this Elder timer and then walk into the base.
Yeah, the worst thing Arcadia can do is get caught up in the fact that the Nexus is exposed right now. If you start trying to run in, say, oh, let's just burn the Nexus, Olaf, run in, pop your ult, just try and finish it off, this is how they're going to lose games. I'm totally with you, Paladino. Just wait off this Elder timer, then just 5-man slam it down in the mid lane. If you have to kill an inhibitor, that's okay. The worst mistake Arcadia can make right now is trying to end the game with a crazy play by either Bans, GZ, maybe by King Moron. Just wait this out, as you said, and I think this is going to be GG. Does a fantastic job by Token Tail teleporting down. Bans, GZ realizing Elder's a lost cause. I'm just going to go run and try and push the base. And as much credit as we've given King Moron, if Arcadia wins this game like they should, I think Bans deserves a ton of credit. This Olaf has been absolutely phenomenal. Pops the Ragnarok and just runs down Neon Sonic, and the last thing Anivia wants is a CC immune bruiser right in their face, because there's nothing Anivia can do about that.
Yeah, I mean, in the eyes of Anivia, Bans GZ is not even a bruiser. He's practically an assassin. He's got so much damage now, and is so tanky as well with this Spirit Visage. So, yeah, I mean, we both talked about it, and it's exactly what I think Arcadia appears to be doing. Just get the farm. You can just wait out the Elder. The Nexus is open. These inhibitors will be respawning in a short amount of time, but they should be easy enough task. I mean, the fight was a pretty dominant win at the Elder buff for NJCU, but that's because the tank was gone. Token Tail was not at that fight, and Elder buff will remain for just a little bit longer. Stun going to land on to Lorenzo. He's going to land some damage with the saplings as well, but he will instantly fall. So that means that one is down already, and now Heimer on the wrong side of the rift. But if you're Arcadia, don't chase. Just go to the base. 5v3 instead. They'll go towards Heimer. They're taking plenty of sapling damage, and they'll start to prepare for this Baron. 13 seconds until it spawns, and Lorenzo's death timer is far too long for that. Heimer's going to remain here in this bush. He's got She-Wolf Ash with him as well, but I mean, in this state, it's a 5v2. The 6th, the Neon Sonic, can head on down as well, but this Baron is a lost cause. I mean, this is a little overkill, if you will. I don't think they needed the Baron to end the game, but it's all right to try and secure it, as they'll pick that one up. And now pick your poison if you're Arcadia. Head top or head mid. I think top lane should be the choice with the wave closer to the base, but instead they'll head towards the mid lane. I think they can just walk as 5 and probably force any fight they want, especially now that this Elder buff has expired.
Yeah, we're getting closer and closer to, you know, some questionable territory here for Arcadia. I'm with you, that Baron buff, more overkill than anything else. They're going to clean up probably both inhibitors. I think this next team fight will be very interesting. Do you focus the champions? Do you focus the Nexus? I think you go on the champions, and we'll see here. This should be our last fight here of game 1.
Here comes the Ornhorn. It will be flashed away by 1. Neon Sonic going to try to apply damage. The 6 taken very low. They're going to ult on to King Moron right away, but he's still plenty healthy, and Bans has already picked up 1. Heimer now the focus, as he will not fall quite yet. Gets rooted up, and he will fall. So 3 members fall before the Nexus is taken down, and Arcadia wins this one in 41 minutes, ending with a 6k gold lead. Early on, all of the advantage was on NJCU. They seem to be doing well. They picked up the first neutral objective, of course got first blood, but then we saw some kills go over to King Moron on the Zeri. We've seen how strong Zeri can be. That's one of those scaling AD carries. And then especially, you talked about it, especially there at the end, Bans having a heck of a performance on the Olaf and secures a Game 1 victory for Arcadia.
Yeah, I think you and I, we were right on the same page there. I think the Fiora, if it was, and I don't think Heimer played bad, but if the split push was played properly, maybe he's able to clinch it. I mean, maybe you get Super Minions top, then Dragon's a little bit harder to take for the side of Arcadia. I think the other difference, and we pointed it out as well, is just the Maokai build did not work. You see the potential, you could see the Nature's Grasp chunking people, but he was just falling over late game, and you cannot have Maokai fall over. Maokai's the champion. You see the highlight where he's living for 2-3 minutes in a 1v4. I think those were the two big things for me that the Gothic Knights just need to work on. Hey, I'm a sucker for AP one-shot Malphite, but sometimes you got to know when you just play a tank as a tank. And for Heimer, if he figures out how to pull that split push off, I think this is a totally open series for the Gothic Knights to win. I don't think Game 1 was indicative of totally an Arcadia stomp here going forward.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, we saw the strengths, especially in the early game for NJCU. They just need to be a little bit more proactive and do some things to snowball that into the mid and late game. And of course, some mechanical mistakes just allowed for the snowballing of Arcadia. But that's all for game number 1. This is a best of 3, so we'll have game number 2 between Arcadia and NJCU coming at you very, very soon. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everyone, to the NECC. We just saw game one between Arcadia and NJCU Gothic Knights. Arcadia picked up the game one win. It looked pretty dominant at the end, but it was not that way all throughout. It was an early lead for NJCU, just kind of saw the sand slip through their fingers, and a great work from Arcadia to really push their lead and secure the win. But we've got draft going on outside of on a secondary client going on right now. We'll have the regular draft coming at you very, very soon. But you talked about it a little before we went to break, Fish. I mean, what are you expecting the Gothic Knights to do heading into game number 2 to try to bring us to a third game?
I think a lot of what they did early in the game. I'm probably expecting another early invade, see if they can catch Vayu off guard again, because, I mean, as we talked about, that was perfect, right? You got a kill onto She-Wolf Asher AD carry and an assist onto literally everyone. Had a massive lead heading into level 1, and they got the Fiora ahead. And I don't think the Fiora played bad. Again, it was one of those we talked about in the draft. It's an impossible situation of if you have all the gold on your team, where do you go? So I'd like to say NJCU either come up with a plan, say, Heimer, either look, we need you in team fights, pick something that you can team fight around, or hey, just stay top, whatever you do, stay top. I think those are the two big things. And of course, maybe a little bit more tank, maybe a little more of a beefiness in the jungle is another thing I want to look for. But I think the big thing is what they'll do against King Moron, right? Will they ban the Zeri, force him to pop off on a different champion? How will they handle the Olaf? Because those were the two problem childs of Arcadia. That's something I want to keep an eye on in the draft. Where does Zeri and where do Olaf go? Are they banned? Are they let through? Because that, I think, will go a long way to seeing if the Gothic Knights can force us to a game 3.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I think Zeri is one that you can debate. Maybe you leave it open, maybe you don't. I think the Olaf is one that you are for sure banning if you're picking Maokai, or you can take it, or, I mean, it's not something you want to leave up if you want to take the Maokai. It is important to note that heading into game number 2, these teams will be on the same sides, so the Gothic Knights will still be on blue. We've got the draft finished up here on the secondary clients. We're ahead to pick ban now in clients. So keep in mind, we will see all the bans as they came in, but everything will be picked in roll order, not in the order in which they were selected. So similar bans as we saw in game number 1, as Zillion is taken off the board first by the Gothic Knights, and Amumu is the response for Arcadia.
Echo going to be banned away again. Same bans for the Gothic Knights. Cassante was banned in there as well. We'll see if that's something they want to take away. It's something Token Tail, at least in his solo queue games, plays a ton of. So we'll see. Maybe they let it through. Maybe they don't. The Cossacks banned away is an interesting one. I definitely think that, I mean, based off what we saw from Lorenzo, it wouldn't shock me if he's more of an assassin play-style player. There is that Cassante ban. Now I think this top lane is going to be very interesting. Because I think, Pally, we talked about it. This matchup favored Heimer tremendously in game 1 and is potentially a way for them to win. And I'm curious what matchup they'll get here as he picks the Camille.
Yeah, for sure. Camille will be locked in. This one was picked on B3. So an interesting choice. We'll talk about the draft order here as we see more picks roll out. It was responded to by the Ornn on R3, so Token Tail once again on the Ornn. Lil Enzo will pick up the Olaf here for himself instead of giving over to bans. That was picked up, of course, on B1. The Syndra was held for B5. That's the mid laner of choice here in this one. It will be bans on the Warwick. That was the pick when I looked over when we were talking here just a few seconds ago. That certainly surprised me, not one that you see very often. JAD will go for the Cassiopeia this game. So Cassiopeia, another champ similar to the Anivia, who has done really, really well with the things added to the game like Rod of Ages and the buffs and things like Seraphs. So we'll see what they're able to do here in game number 2. Second round of bans coming in as Caitlyn is taken off the board by Arcadia.
I think something interesting to note here as well from what we can see from the Gothic Knights is they've actually gone for that roster swap that we've talked about. Sidon going to move into that mid lane role. Neon Sonic going to move down to AD carry. She-Wolf Ash going to be taken out for this series. So interesting to see kind of how that dynamic will play. I don't think Neon Sonic or She-Wolf Ash played terrible in either of their roles, so maybe just trying to get a little bit of a different view, maybe trying to see, again, we're getting close to that time where you got to lock in your rosters, you're trying to figure out what you want to move going forward, so definitely want to see what Neon Sonic can do. There is that Zeri, so he has a very, very tough matchup here in this bottom lane. He's going to counter with the Sivir, so we'll see if he can keep King Moron in check here for game number 2.
Yeah, it was an interesting draft choice. We talked about it a little bit before we got on stream. NJCU holding the Sivir for B4. So they blinded the Camille Picked up the Olaf on B1, then they went Renata Camille. Was responded to, of course, by Token Tails Ornn, but had, of course, only Caitlyn banned away, so only 180 carry taken out of the champ pool. Sivir will be the pick, like you mentioned, for Neon Sonic, and it will be the Nautilus, picked up here for Vayu for Arcadia Knights. I really like this pick. They went Zeri Nautilus on R1, R2. I think picking up the Zeri on R1 is very smart, of course. You already saw him play well on it in Game 1. Champ strong innately itself, of course. And one of the big counter picks from the support role is, of course, that Nautilus. So if you take it yourself, you really don't have to worry about it anymore. So I like the pick quite a bit. But similar drafts, certainly some interesting ones. Honestly, we sort of have similar but not the same for NJCU here in game number 1, at least when it comes to the top lane. Because Camille, another one that's really, really known for that split push pressure, but definitely has more options in team fights than a Fiora.
Yeah, I think the Hextech Ultimatum is, of course, the big one. You can lock King Moron down, not let him get away on that Zeri, maybe potentially find a way onto JAD, depending on who pops off. I think Olaf is going to most likely suit the style of little Enzo a little bit more than the Maokai. You can be a little bit more aggressive on that Olaf. I like that pick as well. I think the one kind of wild card, as you pointed out, Paladino, is that Warwick. Not something you see a whole lot of. I mean, with the Olaf in play, with the Sivir use potential spell shield, there's definitely very few targets for Warwick to find his way to ult onto in team fights. So I'm very curious, especially for how well Ban's played on this Olaf, how this Warwick is going to go, because that's kind of that wild card pick. If he has a fantastic game like he did in game 1, I think this is an easy Arcadia win, but it clearly is not going to have the same sort of rundown potential as Olaf did for the team.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. I mean, Warwick isn't exactly the same as what the Olaf wants to do, but has similar qualities, lots of sustain built into the kit, and is really good at jumping on to, well, literally, in the sense for the Warwick, onto your primary target and trying to take them out of the fight quickly. But we'll see what Bans is able to get done here in game number 2. I think in this one, what I talked about when it comes to some of the things that I favor when it comes to the competitive scene, or even my own games, when it comes to pressing ult to win, Arcadia has that more so than they did in game number 1. Arcadia, of course, you have Nautilus ult, you have the Ornn Horn, even Warwick ult and Cassiopeia ult are such huge team fight changers that I think they can really change the tides, especially if things are in an even state, and especially if they're winning, can very, very much impact those team fights. But similar aspects for NJCU as well. You talked about the Hextech Ultimatum, singling out anyone on the side of Arcadia. Of course, Sivir ult, just helping your allies, giving yourself some ability haste and the movement speed as well. Not as strong as it was before her mini rework, but still quite an impact. Olaf, we saw the impact of his ultimate in game number 1. We'll now see what little Enzo can do on it here for the side of NJCU. And of course, Renata Glask has a very impactful ult as well. And it can disrupt what Arcadia wants to do. When the Ornn Horn comes in, they're probably going to stack and try and get on top of whoever that Ornn Horn hits. And if Renata can respond with that hostile takeover, it could potentially be, again, kind of a game-changing, fight-changing fight. I'm interested to see how this one goes. I was going to ask you who you think is favored here in game number 2, and I'm trying to decide myself, and I'm really having a tough time. I think both these compositions have their own strengths and weaknesses.
No, I'm right there with you, because this game feels a lot like game number 1 in the fact that this is kind of a game that's set up for the Olaf player to pop off, right? We talked about how Bans is just kind of able to pop the Ragnarok, run down the Anivia. It's a chance for little Enzo to do the exact same thing here against that Cassiopeia. Just pop it. You're going to be immune to the Petrifying Gain, is immune to the slow. Just run her down, pick off the APC. But again, I think there's just a little bit too much variability from what we saw for the Gothic Knights for me to feel comfortable. Again, it depends, how quickly can Heimer kind of fix that split pushing mistake. They have a new mid laner and they have a new 80 carry, and give me King Moron and company in Arcadia. I think this Zeri's probably going to have a huge game, so I'm going to go with Arcadia here to finish off our first series of the night. Paladino, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, the more I look at it, I think I favor it just a little bit more as well. Especially because I think a lot of this relies on that top lane. We saw it last game, and it's very similar. We talked about I kind of mentioned Fiora and Camille have similar strengths. Maybe Camille has more team fight strengths than the Fiora. He will most likely get to scale for free into the Ornn. Camille is another one that's really, really good into Ornn. But wasn't able to transition that lead that he got in game number 1 as successfully as we would have hoped. And the bot lane for Arcadia was absolutely fantastic in game number 1. So I think I'm on the same page. I think I'm going Arcadia as well. We will see a stack coming out here from Arcadia. Essentially the reverse of what we saw in game number 1, as they will stack and head on in. It'll be somewhat of a 5 stack as they'll start to walk on in. Vayu could flash over here onto the 6, but not going to do that. They did see the ward drop, so now they'll just walk as 2 and head their separate ways to their own lane. So unfortunately for Arcadia, they've got the Nautilus this time, but not going to find the first blood kill just yet. But they are going to stay here and drop the ward on the red buff. They won't hang around too long, however, as they'll head back their separate ways. It looks like Lil Enzo also went on a bit of a trip of his own. Did not drop a ward anywhere, just scouting out where everybody's at. Token Tail, we'll see him. We'll finally see the ward coming down from Heimer, and I think both junglers will start on the same sides this game. We saw junglers pathing away from each other in game 1. Will not be the same here in game number 2. Both junglers pathing towards this bot side, and that is no surprise to me at all.
No, that will massively favor the side of Arcadia because they got that ward down on that red buff. They're going to have a little bit better time tracking Enzo in the jungle. Meanwhile, Warwick going to be running into the dark as Vayu and King Moron trying something cheeky here.
Yeah, the hook goes wide, however. Neon Sonic, nice footwork to dodge away from that one. And I like this strategy quite a bit when it comes to these Nautilus lanes. We see it a lot in professional play, especially in the eastern regions, and even more so recently in the west with teams like G2, is when you have Nautilus lanes into double range, you really, really want to fight early at level 1 so you can chunk them out as best as possible so you have the push. Because typically into a Zeri and a Sivir, or Zeri into Sivir, Sivir's always going to have that push early on unless you chunk them out. Not able to find it, however, as it'll just be some trading across all 3 lanes so far. Interesting pathing here from Bans. He just went buff, and he's now going to go straight to Lil Enzo's buff, but he will be down a level. So Lil Enzo does not know he's there yet. He's trying to sneak this one underneath him. Lil Enzo, instead of taking these Raptors, will opt for the mid gank as JD could be in some trouble. Flashes away early. Axe will land once again. Grounded is Lil Enzo. Miasma does quite a bit, but not enough. Lil Enzo grabbing first blood. He will lose his red buff for it, which does not feel great, but he got 400 gold. Can't complain.
Oh, Warwick's going to get it in here, I think. With that Bloodhound, we can't quite see it. Right towards that mid tower. It does look like Little Enzo was barely able to sneak away. And both junglers making aggressive plays. I think Ban's play, you really can't fault. Didn't expect Little Enzo to be the aggressor. Does steal his buff. I think 3 buffs for one, first blood for the other. You'll definitely happily take that trade against Sidon. Subbing in game 2 here in the mid, so being able to get him ahead early. JAD and Neon Sonic in game 1 was kind of just a wash matchup between the Syndra and the Anivia. They both did their jobs well, so I like the play from both junglers. I like Little Enzo being aggressive. Even after game 1 kind of got away from him, I like the fact he picks the Olaf, and he's still looking to be that aggressor here early on.
Yeah, definitely good decision making, I think. Early gank mid, you know that you could blow the Cassiopeia's flash. She's just a little bit too far extended, and they do a great job punishing, not only getting the flash and the ignite, but also grabbing that first blood as well. Certainly interesting pathing here. You already kind of mentioned it from Bans. He goes buff. Does get all 3 and doesn't have any problems with it. He's going to start taking those other camps now. Has not picked up those Krugs or those Raptors, so his camp spawns will be a little bit desynced because those will be level 1 Krugs and level 1 Raptors, giving some less XP, but Little Enzo just going to regank in the mid lane. This is the Axe on JAG, however. They might just turn their focus on to Sidon. He'll be fine for now. Conqueror is fully stacked with Cassiopeia. She still won't fall yet. Little Enzo going to grab that kill, and even though he's feared, he is A-okay, and he might turn his focus back onto this Warwick. I don't know if he wins, though, because red buff is still in the hands of Bans. He's going to flash away, and the Axe will not land. Little Enzo very, very low on mana, but it is important to note that Warwick has not taken a reset. We're going to see the Renata walking up towards this Warwick. Ban's going to try to sneakily get on out of here. Has a blast gun, not going to take it yet. Gets the enhanced movement speed. He's going to tank at least 1 tower shot here. Will not tank a second, but will get stunned up. Has the damage reduction, so he's still alive. And this wolf camp is up, so we can sustain a little bit, but It will not matter. Sidon gets the kill. Bands makes him work for it, as the long chase will finally put 300 gold in the pocket of the Gothic Knights mid lane.
Yeah, a little shocked that Bands just didn't opt for the suicide there. Might have been able to just take 2 tower shots before Sidon hit him with the orb, but fortunately, as you said, does lose 300 gold, made him work for it. And again, this is exactly what we saw, though, in Game 1, right? An early lead for the Gothic Knights on the back of a great first blood play. Heimer not so far ahead as he was in Game 1, but they've got to make sure they keep King Moron in check. They can't let him to turn things around, because right now I'm just kind of getting this weird sense of deja vu, Paladino, that an early lead, early nearly 1.5k gold lead, not going to mean a whole lot here in a couple of, maybe 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's deja vu all over again. I couldn't agree with you more. As, especially even so, like, even in the farm. So we got Heimer up CS on to Token Tail, but it is a CS lead for King Moron as well. Hasn't found any kills or anything just yet, but he's got that cold start, so he's well and prepared to just sit back and continue to scale. So if Vayu doesn't see a perfect angle for this hook, he really doesn't need to take it. Token Tail now could be in some trouble. Little Enzo turns to focus onto this Ornn. It is a level 6 here for the Ornn. He channels the Ornn Horn, but the Hextech Ultimatum's going to secure that kill. No knockup to be found. Band's going to try and chase down little Enzo, but the slow from the axe means that he's A-okay for now, but he's got plenty of movement speed towards this low HP target. Gets the bite, but not the kill. Little Enzo has the ghost still active. Axe will land the slow. Band's having trouble catching, waiting on that Q cooldown, and it's finally back up. You see those rings going around the Olaf, and he cannot run forever, so he will finally fall as Bands grabs that kill. And now, unfortunately for this Olaf, you not only lose your shutdown, but he's going to lose his blue buff as well. They did get 1 kill over to Heimer as Token Tail did fall, but I think overall, probably what you were hoping for if you were the side of Arcadia. Some trading here in the bot lane takes Vayu well below half HP, but not going to be in lethal range just yet.
Yeah, as you said, this is exactly what Arcadia, will take. Obviously, they're hoping for, we meant to kill everyone, game over. But I think, you slow down little Enzo, you start to punish his aggressive play, start to steal some of that XP away from him, you blow the ghost, so there's no longer a Ragnarok ghost rundown play available here. They do have a chance here to maybe steal this dragon away from Arcadia. You can see Bands is up near that top side, just grabbing, once again, another buff. Maybe you'd like to see Lil Enzo, instead of dragon, run over to this blue buff, steal it away to get some of that XP back, but instead they're just kind of holding around dragon. They're almost waiting to find someone before they started. I feel like they could have had dragon at 50% by now. Yeah,
it certainly could have been lower than full HP. They're finally starting to hit it, but they gave Arcadia lots of time to make their way down. So now Vayu's going to see them on it. Can't see the dragon HP just yet. It is fairly low, so should go over to the hands of NJCU. King Moron going to go on a Neon Sonic. No mana on this Sivir. Sidon is level 6. The exhaust going down. Bands GZ will blow up instantly as the 6 is going to get that kill. Berserk is the... as Vayu will not get stunned up. Going to pick up 1. Ignite ticking, ticking, ticking. Without a W. Will keep him alive for just a little bit longer, but not long enough as JAD grabs that kill. And now Sidon turns the focus on to this Cassiopeia, and they will hand that one over to the scaling mid laner as well. So now 2 kills in favor for Sidon here against this Cassiopeia. Is down quite a bit of CS, but they get the Drake at the very least and some kills, so it'll be an over 2,000 gold lead here for NJCU.
Yeah, unfortunately, Arcadia just kind of panicked, had a bit of a miscommunication. We'll see if Heimer, though, maybe picks up this kill.
Ooh, nice flash from Token Tail will make him under tower. The Ornn Horn gonna land the knockup as well. I don't know that Heimer has the damage to get the kill here, but I can tell you that Bands certainly wants it. He's got that passive movement speed towards this Camille, but he didn't walk long, so he smites it for level 6. Has the enhanced movement speed, and there goes the ult. The shield going to keep Heimer alive for now. I'm going to keep Heimer alive forever. Maybe not forever, but for long enough for him to channel recall, as no kill goes to the hands of Bands GZ. I saw the idea. I saw the vision. He smites the wave for XP to get that level 6, but just not quite enough damage on this Warwick to secure that kill. Now, Lil Enzo walking bot. Here goes the hostile takeover. Will only land on the 1. And actually lands on a King Moron. I see ease on over. Vayu will certainly fall. I don't think King Moron will, but that would be another kill to this Olaf. 8 kills on the board for the Gothic Knights. 4 of them are Lorenzos.
Yeah, little Enzo has been having himself a phenomenal comeback game here on this Olaf, and Arcadia just seems really panicked. I mean, as you said, you saw the idea behind what Bands is trying to do. Unfortunately, wasn't quite able to secure the kill. And then you go back to that dragon fight. Bands is trying to fight blue buff. King Moron goes over the wall, and I think it was an attempt to pick off Neon Sonic, but Neon Sonic was able to just simply get away with the flash and the ghost. Then you kind of left everybody out to dry. Arcadia just needs to kind of settle down here a bit. Again, this is a very similar score line, maybe a little bit larger of a gold lead than we saw in game one. They go bot lane. They might get a kill here.
Yeah, lots of fighting. Neon Sonic, certainly the one in trouble. King Moron with the ultimate up, but the hook will go wide. King Moron decently low, and guess who's back? Back again. Lil Enzo gets the kill as King Moron will fall. 5 kills now on to this Olaf. The 6th gonna pick up one for himself. So now 2 kills on the Renata Glass, but that's the impact of jungle roll here in this one, as Lil Enzo is just constantly pressuring, and Arcadia cannot find these angles fast enough to impact this bot lane. Jade could be in some trouble as the Syndra ult goes down right away, gets her to about half HP. The stun is nicely dodged by Lil Enzo. Doesn't even have to turn around. He just holds his mouse click for just a little bit. Now this Cassiopeia should certainly fall. And they're going to give another one over to Lil Enzo as he goes on a killing spree. Over 50% of the kills for the Gothic Knights are in the pocket of their jungler.
10 of their 11 kills he's been a part of as well. And I mean, it just feels like Arcadia is just pressing too hard already. You go bot lane. They had the 6th caught out. Timer and Token Tail going to do a bit of trading here, though I believe Born will be okay. Oh, maybe a chance to kill Bands under tower. Oh,
nice cancel. Vayu is in lots of trouble. Now the hostile takeover will only land. It will land on the bull. Not much CC for long. Hook lands on the wall. Reduce cooldown from that first one. Vayu still alive, but the Q. Snipe comes out from Neon Sonic, securing that one. Token Tail, again, forced to take some damage. Again, hard matchup for the Ornn, and it appears to be a hard matchup for Arcadia all across the Rift, as a 2v2 kill for Neon Sonic and the 6th.
Then I don't know if King Moron can rescue them, Paladino. They're starting to run out of time. He's even down in CS to Neon Sonic, which is where he kind of made his mark in game one. As his team was struggling, he had a massive CS lead that he talked about over She-Wolf Ash. Now, this time, not able to do it on Neon Sonic, and this could be a kill up top for Heimer.
Yeah, they're looking. Heimer trying to go on a Token Tail, but gets knocked up instead, and now he's suppressed and all but dead. Great flash from Heimer, flash forward from Bands, tries to get the heal from the W, but cannot find it. So Heimer will unfortunately fall here, blows this flash, gets the flash of the Warwick as well, but at the very least some gold in the pockets of Arcadia, who desperately need it here, as they will drop this Rift Herald, and thankfully for them, we'll get some turret plates off it as well. I don't love that it's going on to the Ornn, but if that's where it has to go to secure the turret plates, it's an okay decision.
Yeah, I honestly don't know where else they gotta put it. The matchup in mid, it feels like Little Enzo has almost always been there. We are gonna get a teleport here from Heimer, and they're gonna miss that last plate.
Yeah, they don't get the plate. Bands could be in some trouble. Heimer looking on to the Warwick. Jade is here as well. Heimer in some trouble now after the mid laner rotates on up, so he'll just head on back to catch his wave. Won't miss too much, but now King Moron potentially in trouble looking for the angle that but cannot find it yet. The Nautilus is here. Hook will go wide. The flash forced out of the Arcadia AD carry. Certainly good in this matchup against the Nautilus. If you're blowing the flash and able to play on the aggressive as Sivir and Renata, you cannot complain about that. Full mythic item to nothing here for Neon Sonic over King Moron as well. We talked about this before. It felt like deja vu at about the 4-minute mark when everything at that point was going right for the Gothic Knights, but they've already done more right here in the early game than they were able to do in game number 2. So good work from them here to hold on to a 5K gold lead at just 14.5 minutes.
Yeah, I think if this game goes to if this series goes to a game 3, I think Olaf will probably be taken away. It just feels like his impact has been way too high. His Bands coming in, trying to save this top lane.
Yeah, Heimer is just in so much trouble. He's gonna get Warwick ulted once again. He gets smited. Token Tail gonna pick up that kill. I honestly don't hate this. I mean, it doesn't feel great to try and snowball an Ornn or yourself if you're the jungler. I mean, snowballing yourself, you're never going to complain about, but it doesn't feel great not being able to impact the mid laner or the bot lane either. But truthfully, I think that's really his only gankable lane at this point. I mean, it's already a 5-stack Rod of Ages for Sidon. We will see Lil Enzo trying to chase down Token Tail. He's going to channel the Ornhorn, but that just made him stand in place, and unfortunately, this Ornn cannot be knocked up. An objective bounty will be picked up by Token Tail as the top tier 1 will fall. First tower to fall here in game number 2. But Lil Enzo takes his life in response.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I think that really is Ban's only lane. I think he could make plays on that bottom side, but the problem is, up until that kill we just saw, that's where little Enzo has been. He has been bot side most of the time. He's been hanging around in that Dragon Pit area, looking for ganks on a JAD, looking to help out Neon Sonic in the 6th a couple of times to really kind of put them ahead, or at least keep them even with King Moron and Vayu. And I think you're right. This is kind of where this Warwick pick, I think, is starting to become a bigger question, though. Neon Sonic's got to be careful.
Yeah, the hook will not land. Neon Sonic flashes away, has the heal. Great heal. Keeps him alive, and King Moron takes lots of tower shots, so he's at 1 HP. The shield bow, the only thing keeping him alive, but he remains alive nonetheless.
Again, this just feels like Arcadia is set up here to just get caught trying to be the aggressors. I mean, the gold lead, it's only 3,500. You have plenty of time if you can continue to farm. We know this team farms very well to find ways back in this game. Vayu and Ban's unfortunately hoping Neon Sonic pushes out, and they're going to be disappointed very soon. Probably going to maybe drop this Rift Tail, I'd assume. Top lane feels like the better play. Dropping it mid is going to feel really bad because that tower basically just needs one good wave push, and it is already dead. And this is just where I think the Gothic Knights really need to push this game away. Enzo needs to find more picks across the map as the Petrifying Gaze unfortunately only gets a slow.
And they're going to turn their focus now here in the top lane to Token Tail, who has Flash. So he's going to use that one to get himself to safety. Hextech Ultimatum cannot lock down the Ornn long enough. Even though Camille's got plenty of true damage, especially with that Divine Sunder finished. Just not able to get enough. But now Token Tail, he's testing his fate, and he tested wrong as Lil Enzo could be in some trouble here in 1v2, but maybe he's not. Fans instead will get that kill to finish Blade of the Ruined King, keeping him alive and allowing him to output plenty of damage. So that is a big shutdown into Vans' wallet, as that'll give him lots of gold. Hook will land on to Heimer. Hostile takeover goes right between the two. They're going to turn their focus first on to JDMP. Nice cancel from Vayu, but misses his hook on to the ward, and flash auto means that Heimer gets himself his 3rd kill of the game.
That's fantastic teleport by Sidon. Able to join that fight, make it a 3-on-2. And I do have to wonder here, as we might actually get an 80 carry battle.
Could see a 1v1. Nice spell shield blocks away some of that damage from the Zeri, but I don't think we'll see much more else than that. The goal has been finished here for King Moron a little while ago, just sitting on it to get some of that bonus damage when he's farming, but lots of shutdowns on the map here for NJCU. Maybe if you're Arcadia, you just try and target these shutdowns, see what you can get, how you can get on someone's head, and try to get some extra gold on the map. The Rift Shield will be dropped here in the bottom lane, but it will not hit in the bot tier 1, and now King Moron will be hit hard as he falls. They're going to look first onto Bans. He won't die yet. JAD looking first onto Neon Sonic, who has been ignited but will stay alive for now. We're hoping, or excuse me, JAD is hoping that he gets one more Q. Will not find it yet. He gets the E instead as he picks up Neon Sonic. Sidon goes for 1, and unfortunately for Arcadia, Lil Enzo's 6-1-1 isn't done either as he gets 2 more kills.
It shocks me, I think, Paulina, the most, that it feels like Arcadia has never played against an Olaf before. They're throwing out a ton of CC as he just pops the Ragnarok. We've seen it a couple of times from Token Tail where he just stands still and tries to channel the Ornhorn as the Ragnarok is popped. And, I mean, they're basically getting the same treatment that the Gothic Knights got from Ban's last game. Little Enzo is simply just running down the squishiest members, popping the Ragnarok at very opportune times to dodge most of the CC, and just really killing whoever he feels like. And it'd be interesting to see in the game, the way we're trending, this has a game 3 pretty much all but guaranteed. I mean, it's a 7.5k gold lead at 20 minutes. It's complete control for the side of Gothic Knights. What Little Enzo and Bands are going to do without Olaf, because there's no way he makes it into game 3, right?
Yeah, certainly not, especially after this performance from Little Enzo and the performance in game 1 from Bands. I mean, we're seeing items finished all across the Rift, and Little Enzo is the only, or excuse me, one of 2 on the map with 2 items. He went Goredrinker into that Black Cleaver. Demonic Embrace already finished for Sidon as well. We will see Fans clearing away these Raptors, trying to find any angle he can to make any play on the map possible. He's done a good job of coming to the top lane, but just has not been able to find what he was looking for in the bot lane as of yet.
Got Baron up and really on the table for the Gothic Knights. They can get this pick onto Bands.
Yeah, looking for one. He will just infinite duress away, so he's all good. JD will go turn his focus onto Sidon, but this is a tanky Syndra already with the finished Rod of Ages to that full 10 stacks double level as well. As flash forward now from JAD, thought he had damage with the auto. Instead, he will attempt to go down. Sidon does go on a rampage, picking up 1. He stuns away onto King's Moon, but he cannot stun away Buns. GG. Stopwatch coming down, but I don't think anyone on his team is close enough nearby to help him out. That will mean the falling of him, as they're going to just turn their focus straight on to Baron. Little Enzo, Neon Sonic, and the 6th are immediately hitting this Baron at just 22 minutes.
Fortunately, they won't get it onto Sidon, but that's about the only complaint. Would have also probably liked to seen that shutdown on Sidon go over to King Moron. I mean, the moment he popped Zanya's, that was a dead Syndra, but King Moron went back to farm the lane. The kill went over to Bands. That extra shutdown gold, I believe 400 gold worth, would have been huge for this 0-2 and 1 Zeri. But now you're going into Baron. Now Heimer finally gets a tower. I think maybe this is the only thing that hasn't gone the way of the Gothic Knights that really felt like it should. Is it did take a very, very long time for him to push that top wave, but Bands spent a ton of time kind of helping out Token Tail this game, so I understand why Heimer didn't have the same success, but it enabled the rest of the map. And now you're kind of looking at this Paladino and you're saying, all right, how do we find a way back in this game, especially with the Warwick going up against the Olaf? The Cassiopeia ult's not going to have success. I don't think Vayu's had the same success on this Nautilus as he did on the Morgana with the free bindings. You really have got to find a way to kill Olaf. I mean, and just to base off last game, I don't think you have a way right now.
Yeah, I don't really think so either. I mean, you're only you do not have enough damage to kill this Olaf. He is so strong. Building into the Sterex third, has the Cleaver, has the Goredrinker as well. I mean, and your engaged tools don't work onto an Olaf.
Yeah.
You can't be knocked up, you can't be hooked, you can't be Nautilus ulted. None of it works. The hostile takeover going to land on just the Nautilus, so he gets an enhanced route. That actually does use his Glacial Augment cooldown, so we'll see if that impacts anything, but I think realistically Arcadia will not have any benefit here in this one, as Soul is coming up in a minute and a half as well. It'll be a Cloud Soul, and normally, you know, people like to hate on Cloud Soul, say it's not that good. I think Cloud Soul is not that bad in and of itself, but I can tell you who it's really good on, and that was the man who was just on your screen, Little Enzo's Olaf. Olaf absolutely loves Cloud Soul, especially with that Ghost. And now NJCU just doing such a fantastic job pressuring all 3 lanes here. They just 1-3-1. They rotate Lil Enzo up to the mid lane to try and force this inhibitor turret. Great work from them here to get maximum value out of this Baron. And now they're just going to go straight on to JAD. And it's Lil Enzo in a 1v4. And he is not losing. He finally starts to lose HP. And he finally goes down. The triple stun goes down. Neon Sonic still alive. Does get knocked up, however, so he's taken pretty low. Sidon will get the kill on to JAD. So it will be a 1-4-2 in a situation where Lil Enzo goes 1v5. And now Heimer is going to go for the fast trade on the JAD, trying to get the one-shot kill. Will pick it up as the Cassiopeia falls. Baron buff might mean that the tower will fall. It won't go down just yet. Another stun comes down from Sidon, make it 2. As Token Tail, now the focus of this Cassiopeia, or excuse me, this Camille, as Heimer now on a rampage, and this one is all but over. 2 inhibs fall. Baron buff has expired, so I don't know if they'll have the damage to kill these Nexus turrets, but they'll certainly try, as low health bars could potentially spell danger here for NJCU, especially with Olaf not in the area, but the Hextech gates help the Renata Glass get out, and everyone else will just walk on away.
Yeah, they're going to walk over and claim Soul. I do believe it is a Hextech Soul, actually. It is still the spectator bug with our new dragons. I don't even know if
Oh, yes, excuse me. I should have noticed. My apologies.
You're all, the dragons aren't even new anymore, and we still can't.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
We still haven't figured that one out.
It's not entirely our fault. Yes, the dragon is not new. This dragon's been out for over a year, and it's still bugged. So that's a Riot Games fault. That's not me.
No, I don't blame you. Look at the top, you're like, oh, Cloud Soul, yeah. Hey, I am a Cloud Soul believer. I wasn't going to stop you from hyping up the Cloud Soul, even if it wasn't the Cloud Soul. I agree. Cloud Soul.
I mean, I like Cloud Soul, but truthfully, even more, I think Hextech Soul is a little bit better, and they're not going to complain about Hextech Soul either.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the mark of these games, especially in the NECC at this emergent level, Paladino, where this will kind of be a really big determining point for how the Gothic Knights will do the rest of the season. Because as we saw last game, finishing games when you are so far ahead, I mean, it's over 10,000 gold, it can be a struggle. I mean, Arcadia took what we kind of saw was a pointless Baron just to really make sure this game ends. I want to see how Gothic finishes this game out. I think Lil Enzo made his first minor error of the series. I think he went way too deep on that Olaf as a 1v5, and he might do it again here to kind of wrap this one up.
Yeah, what's crazy is it almost worked, and it's starting to work here now. It's going to force the ult. So just ult for ult from both junglers. And truthfully, I think Lorenzo is a little bit more impactful, but that ult CD is so low. You see that already ticking away. But if he decides to be a little bit too aggressive, you could see the engage coming out potentially. I mean, this should be the last 5v5 of the game. They're just going to go for the triple inhib. Bayou not going to land that hook on from the Nautilus. Huge stun comes out from Sidon, but no damage to follow up just yet. They're just going to ult right away. The focus is on to the 6th. Lots of damage going down. JV trying to get a kill on a Sidon. Not going to find one yet. Hybrid with unstoppable as King Moron falls, and everyone is falling so fast. Arcadia just get clean aced in an absolute stomp here in game number 2. The gold lead at the end of 27 minutes is over 15k. We saw Arcadia get that win. They were down early, came back strong, and really snowballed their lead. This one, game 2, it was NJCU from start to finish. They started with the ball rolling, and it only kept up speed.
Yeah, I think this was a fantastic performance by the Gothic Knights. I mean, we kind of talked about this in the break of game 1, and, that game 1 I don't think was really indicative. I think you and I kind of left saying Gothic Knights left a lot on the table in game 1. Probably could have found ways to win. They showed that here. I mean, it definitely feels like Olaf probably has to be banned away. Probably by the side of the Gothic Knights, because I assume Arcadia is going to take blue side so they can be one-it. So maybe that opens up the Echo. Maybe that opens up the Cassante for Token Tail. That, I think, is going to be something that is very, very important for game 3. Is the Olaf banned? And if he is, what is going to be left on the table? Because it has been Zillion, Echo, Cassante bans all day for Gothic Knights. They're probably going to have to let one of those through here in game 3.
Yeah, I totally agree. I imagine we will see a side swap. Maybe not, but if we do, I think the draft will change up quite a bit. But this will be an exciting one. We are going to game 3 here between Arcadia and NJCU. We'll have that in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Welcome, welcome everyone once again to the NECC. We are about to get into game number 3 of NJCU versus Arcadia, and it's been a good one so far. We saw Arcadia pick up game 1. I mentioned it after that last one. They started out a little slow, had a bit of a deficit, and then really came back, snowballed their lead. But game 2, NJCU just ran away with it from practically minute 1. Ending it very, very quickly with a large gold lead as well. We have swapped sides, so we will see NJCU on red side for the first time in this game. And of course, equivalently, we'll have Arcadia on blue side. So I can tell you just from seeing this draft wall to my left that things have certainly switched up quite a bit. I won't spoil anything yet because we'll be getting into the actual draft here soon. Once again, just as a friendly reminder, when you see the draft, it will just be in roll order, not the order in which it was picked in the actual draft. But we've had a good series so far.
Yeah, we've had a great series so far, and I mean, heading into game 3, as you and I know, and we'll find out here shortly, I think that it's a 4-letter word on everyone's mind, and that's Olaf. And what happens to Olaf in game 3? I think the Arcadia blue side pick is absolutely fantastic because we have only seen the same 3 phase 1 bans from NJCU this whole time. It's been Cassante, it's been Zillion, and it's been Echo. And the way that Olaf has been played this series, one of those probably has to go to slot in that Olaf. So you're going to get your choice of one of those 3 here, or one of those 3 champions. The Cassante, as we've seen, is at least what Token Tail plays in solo queue. He's only been on Ornn, so we'll have to see. But that Olaf is on everyone's mind. It's not going to get through, and the question becomes, what do the Gothic Knights have to give up in this ban phase here to take care of Olaf?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. Both junglers have equally proven that they can play Olaf and lead their team to victory, so yep. I don't imagine we will see that one through, but it'll be a Mumu and Zillion taken off the board first. Fiora also banned away by Arcadia. We're going to see the Cassante taken off once again by the Gothic Knights. This final ban for Arcadia will once again be the Kha'Zix. I think we've seen this one banned in every game as well in different rotations. And then the Olaf will be taken away by NJCU. So you're going to see a big surprise here as Token Tail will lock in Ornn. 3 games, 3 Ornn games. Champ's strong. He's doing his job. If it ain't broke, right?
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I totally with you there. That does mean the Echo is the champion that got through. We'll see if Bans wants to pick that up, or maybe JAD. Both of them can kind of flex there. We do get the Nocturne for little Enzo. Might have a remake here. Of course, as you mentioned, Paladino, we do have a draft wall on our other side of the screen, and that is not... No, never mind. I was looking at the wrong thing. Yeah, Ignore me. Ignore me.
It is the
Ignore me.
Yeah.
I saw the Jace, and I was like, wait, Jace goes top. Never mind. That's on me. That's on me. So, no. I think this is a very interesting one. There's that Echo that we saw locked in. And JD on the Jace is an interesting one because I think he's been pretty strong this series. So, the fact that kind of been changing him up. He was on Syndra. He was on Cassiopeia. Now on the Jace. Very interesting one side on getting that Syndra. I think that's kind of a sneaky winner of this is Syndra's been super strong. The fact that they've kind of been able to be picked every game is a huge win for the Gothic Knights.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Syndra's a great pick, but I do like the Jace as well. Jace got some big buffs a little while ago, particularly to melee form Jace. Hammer Q does way more damage now. He got some mana regen stuff. A couple, minor buffs here and there, but they've helped out a ton, and Jace mid has seen super prevalency, especially with these AP junglers. So you know that Bans plays a ton of Echo in solo queue. The Echo's finally open, so you slot that into the jungle and bring that Jace into the mid lane. Now, Jace is not the easiest to execute with, especially in the mid lane, so it will be on JAD to kind of prove that they're able to get things done, but it will be the Sivir locked in for Neon Sonic here. King Moron and Vayu will go for Kaisa Nautilus once again. Didn't have much success last game, but that was Zeri Nautilus. Much more kill aggressive lane here with Kaisa Nautilus. So we'll see if they're able to snowball anything more here in this one. We can't let you know. It's just some draft order stuff here as this final pick we were locked in for the 6th. It will be the Renata Glass paired once again with this Sivir. Echo was picked on B1. NJCU with the fairly stereotypical response of how teams usually draft these days, picking bot lane on R1, R2. It was Renata and Sivir. Arcadia responded, Kaisa Nautilus. Interesting pick as, kind of thinking back to it now, I was questioning it initially. They did pick Syndra on R3, and initially I didn't really understand. I think you can match jungle. You assume this Echo is going jungle, but by picking Syndra, you guarantee it gets through, because you have mentioned it's been strong in all these games, so there's a strong chance it would have gotten banned if it was saved for that second rotation. So kind of with more hindsight than I initially had, I think the pick's pretty good. And then finishing out the rest of the draft in the order it was drafted, of course, Nocturne picked up on R4. They did save counter pick for that Darius because the Ornn and the Jace were picked up on B5, B4 respectively. They get the counter pick of the Darius. I know we've seen Darius before banned away. It is another good pick into the Ornn, and it really does similar things to what we've seen the Fiora, the Camille's do in previous games. Darius has the split pushing strength, of course, and maybe not as much team fight power as the Camille, but at least when it comes to single target, but certainly has options for resets. So we'll see what he's able to do here, and has another pretty easy matchup into the Ornn.
Yeah, I mean, Heimer's kind of had his way top lane. I do think that they did a great job in game 2, kind of defending Token Tail a little bit more, at least as best they could for Arcadia in a losing effort. Bans was up there quite a bit. And I think you're right. I think the Syndra getting through to Sidon, I think, is a very smart play. I thought he was kind of a sneaky carry. I will say I don't like that Vayu and King Moron have opted for these kill lanes, because it feels like King Moron's success in game 1 was simply out farming and responding to ganks. Now that all the pressure's on them, at least in game 2, Vayu I don't think landed many hooks in lane, and I don't think they secured a single kill during that laning phase. So a little pessimistic, I would say, about that Arcadia bot side, but I really think the big one is going to be in the jungles, right? They had to let the Echo through. You and I were talking in the break. We probably felt if that Cassante Echo Zillion trio, they should have left the Zillion through instead on those bans. So I'm kind of watching that Echo, and then on the Nocturne side, we've seen the good of Little Enzo, and we've seen the bad of Little Enzo, and I'm curious to see where this Nocturne's going to fit on that scale.
Yeah, I totally agree. You mentioned the Echo. I think that's one of the important things that's far more important in games like these in the NECC, where if you watch competitive play, you'll see a lot of the same bans, just because these players at the highest levels can always pretty much just play anything they want in their role. But comfort picks and solo queue picks are going to be a lot more prevalent in games like these, and Echo is strong. Echo is a very snowbally character. If you can get a couple kills on him, you can absolutely carry a game, and that's why you see things like Kha'Zix banned away by Arcadia in a lot of these previous games as well. And so now leaving this Echo up, we'll see if he's able to take his most common played pick and bring it to victory to try and secure Arcadia their win. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll be getting into a game here very, very soon. Once again, I looking at these, and I'm kind of having a similar problem that I had in game number 2, where both these drafts are interesting. They both have their own strength, their own weaknesses. I think I'll answer first before I send it to you, since I've done it the opposite way both times. I think I prefer Arcadia's a little bit more. I think they have a slightly better front to back. Truthfully, I don't love pairing Jace with Kai'Sa. I think if you can pair Jace with a longer range poke 80 carry, it's a little bit better. But their front to back is great. You have Nautilus engage, you have Ornn engage, you have Jace poke. Jace engage is also very strong. I mentioned the buffs to hammer form, and Echo engage on top of all that CC is a lot easier. So I think I'm favoring Arcadia here as they look to, they dropped game 2, hoping to pick up a win in game 3. But what are you thinking?
Well, this is a tough one. When I first looked at it, I definitely leaned Arcadia. I definitely think the fact that they kind of got at least the comfort champion of the draft, which is that Echo, going over to bans. But I think this game is going to come down to jungle play, and I think, I'm going to go with really what it feels like the Gothic Knight strategy has been for this series, and I'm going to live or die by the side of this Nocturne, by the side of Little Enzo, because I think of the two junglers, Little Enzo's going to be the more aggressive. If this Nocturne can get ahead, he's going to start eliminating people across the map with the darkness. So give me Gothic Knights. I'm expecting Little Enzo to pick up first blood around that 3.5 minute mark here if they don't get it earlier. So for the first time this series, I'll pick against you, Paladino, and we'll see as we hop into game 3 who will claim our first victory of the night here on the NECC2 channel in this Emergence Northeast Showdown.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you. I think Betting on Lil Enzo is not a mistake at all. And truthfully, Nocturne can snowball pretty well as well. They will spot out this invade, so Vayu is just going to walk up solo. We're going to see a couple wards dropped on both sides here. The bot lane for Arcadia drops both their wards in one spot. That could be pretty impactful. I will say on patch 13.3, I believe, the early ward timer, the cooldown of wards was decreased, so those wards will be up a little bit sooner in case Lil Enzo decides to path towards the bot lane. But once again, these junglers will be starting on opposite sides. We're going to see Bans walking on up to this blue buff. We'll get a leash from Token Tail. We'll be spotted out by Heimer, however. He sees that they are on that blue, or he at least will drop the ward, so they'll certainly know that he is starting there, which is great information. If you're the Gothic Knights, you know exactly what this Echo's plan is, or at least generally what it is. But we have seen some creativity out of Bans in previous games. Just don't forget, in game number 2, he did go buff, buff, buff. So we could see some fast ganks coming out once again, but I'm interested to see where both these junglers go and if they decide to just full clear or who decides to get onto the map first.
Yeah, I mean, I expect Little Enzo. I mean, unfortunately, the problem with Nocturne is it does go a little bit against his style. Of course, Nocturne, one of those junglers that wants to get to 6. So if he ganks early and fails, it's going to put him behind. Though I do love the idea of him starting bottom side. If there's a lane to get ahead early, it will be Heimer. So I expect Little Enzo to maybe try and go 3 camp, get a gank, especially if Heimer can kind of get that wave to push against him a little bit, which is going to be hard with the Darius Q. You have to make sure you're not just slapping all of the minions with your axe. For Bans, he's not going to go buff, buff, buff. I'm expecting him to be a little bit slower this time. But again, I think Lil Enzo wants to be the aggressor in this matchup here, and that's what I'm expecting him, even if it's kind of against the stereotypical Nocturne playstyle.
Yeah, I expect him to gank before 6 just because, patterns from games 1 and 2. But I definitely think once he hits 6, you're constantly, any Nocturne player or anyone who's played at least a couple games of Nocturnes knows the strength of that character is once you hit 6, wherever you're farming camps, just look at the lane you're closest to. And unfortunately, Token is going to take a bad trade there. Once Darius hits that full bleed stack, he is forced to flash. He does get the ghost out of Heimer, but that probably takes the gank pressure away with his wave crashing in to Token Tail, as Heimer will have one more wave to push on in, but it'll just be a full clear here coming out from Lil Enzo. Full clear as well for Bans GZ. This is what we saw in game number 1, so not uncommon here between these two teams, and they won't meet each other on these crabs. We're going to see that JAD will take a early recall and grab an extra long score, get a nice cheater reset, and we'll have a big wave to catch as well. That's why we see a bit of a CS deficit there. Bans GZ looking for a creative angle here, going for the lane gank. You see him sitting in bot lane try. Vayu looking for an angle to hook, but won't find it yet. Heimer getting some nice trading on. Full bleed stacks again, taking some damage back, but won't find anything just yet. Bans is still here. Flash hook, nice! Lands onto the target who doesn't have a spell shield, and the 6th will fall. Great work from Vayu. I think once the flash comes out, Neon Sonic had great timing to use the spell shield, but that's not the target Vayu was going for. Instead, going for the 6th, and this Renata blows their flash early on, still gives up first blood, holds on to that exhaust. Don't know if it would have kept him alive, but it might have helped. Well, and so on a ward, so knows that he cannot hang around much longer after some first strike gold is farmed there by Bans, but a nice gank secures some early kills. But Token Tail could be in some trouble. Heimer with the solo kill. That's the benefit of the counter pick. They've had it, either indirect counter pick or counter pick in general in all these games. He's had good matchups here in this one, and it's proven the same as 1 kill and a large CS lead here for this Darius.
Yeah, this is sort of the first time that Heimer's had success solo, especially after last game. I mean, it took him a very long time to find ways onto that tower. I know in game 1 he had some success at least into that mid game, but that solo kill absolutely huge. Allows Little Enzo to kind of basically say, all right, I can ignore that lane. Meanwhile, bot lane, as you mentioned, 6 blew the flash, but Neon Sonic also blew flash and heal. This is a very open lane to gank. Little Enzo actually coming down to kind of be protection, if anything else, but I'd love to see Bands come back here. They're gonna have a timer on both these players' flashes. I'd love to see Bands try and come back before flash comes up for Neon Sonic in 6th. Really get King Moron and Vayu ahead as they want to do in a kill lane, something they couldn't do in game 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Nice Q back means King Moron's forced to flash. There goes the Spell Shield, blocks the auto, but will not block the hook. And Neon Sonic not going to find lethal on to King Moron, but does pull the flash of the Kaisa flash also coming out of, or excuse me, that was Hex flash coming back up, Vayu blue flash on that first blood kill. So nice work there as, you know, you at least trade one back, so it's a little bit more difficult for King Moron to follow up when Bands does come back to this lane if he chooses to do so. We won't see anything just yet. Heimer now has got a great wave state and some good trading as he flashes on to Token Tail. Not going to get full bleed text yet, but finally gets him. There goes the dunk. We'll see if the bleed is enough. Token Tail just has to wait and see if he's going to live long enough, and he will not. Make it 2 solo kills for Heimer. He trades his flash for 300 gold, and this Darius is getting strong. It's starting to get a little concerning up here in the top lane.
We've seen this before, right, Paladino? We saw this in game 1 with that Fiora, and the question becomes, what is Heimer going to do? Especially now, of course, Darius kind of stuck in that flash ghost playstyle. Not going to have the teleport like the Fiora did. So Heimer's decisions are, I think, really magnified in this game 3, especially he's the one getting fed. Does he split push? Does he maybe get these 5 plates and then join his team for team fights? I think Heimer maybe has more pressure getting fed because he has so much gold than if he had just CS'd well, got a kill maybe at that 9-10 minute mark. His decisions are really under a magnifying glass as we move into that mid-game of what he wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And when we say he's fed, he is super fed. He's working towards that stride breaker right now. And not only does he have the 2 kills, I mean, his farm's not as great as he would like, maybe, but he's got 2 solo kills and 3 plates. So he is so strong. We're now going to see a bit of an invade here. His band's going to try to take away the blue buff of Lil Enzo, which does feel pretty good. I think Lil Enzo might have taken it, taken Band's blue buff on his own as well. Just some vision going to get cleared out here from the side of Arcadia. Besides those first few ganks and the solo kills, of course, we haven't had too much action, but I think, yeah, what you're talking about, and I think the sole focus here in this one is what is Heimer going to be able to do to secure this win for the Gothic Knights, as he's definitely the one with the most gold, so it is on his shoulders, at least for the moment, to really snowball this lead and get either himself more ahead or other lanes more ahead. We'll see the Orn Horn coming out. Will not land on anyone, but Lil Enzo just gets blown up, blows the flash, and dies regardless as JAD will get that kill. And now Heimer's the focus, gets a lot of healing. He picks up 1, and now potentially looking for resets, but does not have full bleed stack, stays alive, as that one will go over to the side of Bands GZ. Token Tail gets the kill onto the Darius and gets the Rift Herald as well. It was stolen away by Bands. Sidon now in lots of trouble, has no flash. Flash forward coming out from Token, just waiting on those cooldowns to come back up. Gets a grass bottle, looking for one more. Doesn't need it, has the Q instead. And a winning fight and the Rift Herald picked up there for Arcadia. So now suddenly a game that was certainly in favor of NJCU in the gold category is now all even up here, as a good fight for Arcadia gives them some extra gold.
Yeah, unfortunately, Lil Enzo, you know, as we talked about, the Nocturne a little against his style, probably only needed a couple more camps to hit 6, and I don't think that was going to be a contested Herald at all. We do see a nice spell shield there by Neon Sonic, but instead, great job by Token Tail scouting out that Herald. They knew Little Enzo wanted it, and he tried to fight at level 5 on the Nocturne against level 6 Echo. Unfortunately, Little Enzo just needed to farm a couple more camps, Paladino, and now we're starting to see maybe the Nocturne, again, still early, but just not that style that I think Little Enzo needed. We can see why that Gothic and those snowbally junglers are banned away from him, and he's forced to kind of play off his comfort style in this series.
Yeah, I don't even think he needed any more than 1 camp, because he wasn't 6 for the Rift Herald fight, but as soon as he respawned, he did hit 6. Now Sidon in some trouble, but does land a nice stun to keep himself alive. Here comes the Paranoia. They're going to turn their focus first on
to the Echo. We'll see if the Fear will land. It will go through. Needs one more auto, and he will get it. Lil Enzo now going to turn on the JADMP. The nice unleashed power secures the kill for Sidon, and some big trading in the bot lane means the 6th is nearly dead as well when forced to blow the flash. Neon Sonic also healed, so the first use of this incredibly powerful Nocturne ult secures 2 kills for NJCU, and now they're back up 1k gold again.
And they're going to get another plate here, so 2 plates in the mid for Sidon so far. No plates have been conceded yet by the Gothic Knights, so they might get close here depending on how King Mora decides to target focus, and I assume at some point that first plate bot lane will go down. But that plate gold really starting to add up, especially top side. I mean, 1 more kill for Heimer, and he's going to get 5 solo plates for himself. And this Rift Herald, as you said, did get stolen. Unfortunately, goes on to Token Tail, so they're really not going to find a whole lot of value out of it because his lane's never pushing.
Yeah, he's never going to be able to drop this in the top lane. I think if you're Token Tail, you have teleport up. What I would do with time left up is I would have him take a base now and probably run bot. I think you run bot, have them push in the wave, drop the Herald, and then insta-TP top so you don't lose your tower. I think that's really your only play. Otherwise, this Rift Herald is just going to expire or not crash at all. We see Bands GZ down here as well, looking for a lane gank, but both members of the NJCU bot lane are in base, so not going to find anything there. Token Tail just going to try and farm up this wave as best he can. JD here in the bot lane as well, looking on a little Enzo, gets some nice trading first. But will get feared up. Sidon has a free angle to land a stun, and Sidon gets the kill. Bands GZ looks to turn his focus on the little Enzo, but will not find it anywhere. So some nice movement here from NJCU. You can see what the plan was from Arcadia, just came at the wrong time. The bot lane wasn't even there, so instead they just lose the life of their mid laner.
And I think this also probably guarantees Rift Herald expires, because I think the other play outside the one you mentioned is Token Tail can teleport into that mid turret, drop the Herald, and then they can 5-man on the dragon, look for that double dragon stack to start. But with JAD going down, they can't contest the dragon anymore. And yeah, this Herald, unfortunately, is just going to simply expire in his inventory. Oh, never mind, he did actually barely get it off, but I don't know.
Go bot.
It is going to go bot. We'll see if it makes it there.
It's going to make it there, but I don't think it makes it fast enough to get plates. Shadow Saw going down. Neon Sonic easily spell shields that one, but now he's in the hands of Band, looking for the kill, but not going to find it yet. They're going to turn their focus onto this Renata Glass. Remember, no flash on this Renata. Uses the W to try and stay alive. All it does is give the kill over to King Moron. JAD misses the flash, but keeps himself alive for now. Now Sidon is the focus, has the stopwatch, but will certainly fall. Let's see who they give the kill to. It's going to be smited by Bands. He'll get that first kill of the game, and I don't mind that at all. He's got the Dark Seal, he's playing his comfort champ, and I think that's a good pick. Give himself some extra gold and also secures their second Drake of the game. So the soul stacking is in favor here for the side of Arcadia. The Rift Herald does hit for plates, so at the very least they got that gold on the map, so it indirectly worked what I was hoping they would do. Flash forward now from Bands, looking on a Neon Sonic. Here comes the Nocturne, all Paranoia onto the enemy AD carry. Flashing forward is King Moron, but he's just going to fall right away. Now it's a 4v2, and it is demolition for Arcadia as they kill all 3. Great response. Little Enzo with a good Nocturne ult, and of course, a nice rotation there from Sidon means that Arcadia practically get wiped off the map.
Yeah, fantastic use of that Unleashed Teleport for Sidon right as it comes up. Meanwhile, Heimer, by the way, did get a full 5-plate solo tower. He's almost doubling the CS of Token Tail. He is going to be a massive menace no matter where he is on this Rift. And what do you want to see, Paladino? Do you want to see Heimer joining fights? I know we kind of were critical about how he's stuck in top lane, or do you want to see him just in that split push role here in Game 3 for the Gothic Knights to win?
I think it's a tough call. He's so strong that I think reasonably, what I would have him do now is go bot. I think you want to rotate your bot lane mid, probably send Syndra to the top lane and bring Darius bot, just to try to get some pressure on there. You can always have Lil Enzo hover him if Arcadia's bot lane does not rotate up. But I think as we get to the mid of the late game, I think their strength will probably be in team fighting. That's how they won Game 2, was the work of Heimer having some nice ults on the Camille, doing lots of damage in those 5v5 team fights. Of course, Lil Enzo was more of the star of the show on that Olaf, but there was some work done, absolutely, by Heimer, and I think that's what I want to see more of here in this one. So I would have him split for now. I think we definitely need to see some rotations here from this team. We're going to see plenty of camps taken away from Lil Enzo, but we will trade all of those for the Rift Hero. But now we're going to see Token Tail trying to find something on a Sidon. He's just going to get stunned up and taking plenty of damage. Toke goes a little bit wide. Nice footwork from Sidon. They can't dodge this one. Hostile takeover will land on the 3, so stops him for a little bit. Flash comes out from Sidon. Here goes the Killer Instinct as King Moron looking to find anyone. The 6th going to flash on away. Sidon still alive, looking for the stun. Lands it on to 2, but no more damage left to be found. So lots of ultimates used, but no one will enter the gray screen as it'll just be a Rift Herald picked up, for the Gothic Knights. Heimer might have something to say about that, though. Looking on to Token Tail. He does have the flash. Flashes on over, so he will stay alive. Stun lands. First strike coming down. There goes the W. Sidon gets the kill. Van's forced to ult. He's here now with King Moron as he will stun up Heimer, but the E will just miss. Use of the Rocket Belt keeps him alive. So very, very close one. I thought the play was over, but Token Tail did not know he was on a ward. They take advantage of it and grab the kill for themselves. This Rift Herald now going to be dropped right away. Not much of a wave here in the mid lane, as the hook will land on the wall. Will root up Lil Enzo, so he could be in some trouble. But now this tower has fallen, and they can just instantly focus JAD. He will almost certainly fall, instantly goes down. Neon Sonic is going to pick up that kill, and now they turn their focus onto the Nautilus. Lil Enzo very, very low. Lots of members on low health bars, but they're all just going to walk on out. So lots of gold now goes over to the Gothic Knights. They grab a tier 2 tower and some kills to go on top of it.
I mean, this play really is just the absolute dominant performance by Sidon. Not really in landing abilities, which he did as well, but he sidestepped, I want to say, 3 potential CCs or knockups in that fight, Paladino, in that river. And that just allowed, as you mentioned, multiple ults blown up by Arcadia. They didn't find a single thing, and the Gothic Knights were simply able to turn on them immediately. They pick up 3 kills, they pick a tower. That really is on the back of Sidon having some fantastic dodging on the Ornhorn, on the Nautilus hook, on the Orn knockup. If any of those land, he probably dies, and that is a lost fight for the Gothic Knights. So, big shout out to Sidon. Absolutely playing a menace here. He was a substitute in game 2, and Gothic Knights have looked like a different team since he's come in.
Yeah, he's doing absolute work here in both these games. Played really well in game number 2, doing the same. I mean, like you mentioned, not only landing all of those crucial stuns, but having some fancy footwork as well. Dodging out on hooks, got knocked up, but positioned properly so he couldn't take too much damage. Just playing so well here, and absolutely doing all he can to secure a series win for the Gothic Knights. The Mountain Drake is spawning in 10 seconds. Keep in mind, Arcadia may be behind, but they have 2 Drakes to none. We're going to see Token TP on down. Sidon has TP, but is going to recall first. There goes the hostile takeover, and that's one of their big engage tools. So now it's decently difficult for the Gothic Knights to get in. They will spot Heimer with that sweeper. We'll see what they're able to find. Keep in mind that long objectives like this, when Arcadia have the angles, means that you're going to take a ton of poke damage from this Jace. They might just try and burn it down, but Paranoia is available, but he will need vision of this Baron. He's got it right now from Heimer. He's trying to walk on in. Here comes the Ornhorn. Won't be able to get anything yet. An objective bounty picked up, as it'll be soul point now for Arcadia. Paranoia used, diving on in, looking on to enemy AD carry. King Moron's still alive, but not for long, as Heimer gets that kill. And now it's Reset City. Heimer looking for more. It's a triple kill for the Darius. His ghost is not quite up, but Renata W helps him out plenty. Lands the hook, make it a quadra kill for the Darius. And Baron spawns in 30 seconds. They're just going to keep on pushing. I think Heimer smells blood in the water. He wants this pentakill. And the stun lands. He lands the E. Exhaust goes down, looking for the kill. And he's got it. It's a pentakill for the Darius. He's gotten good matchups in all 3 games. He's played well in all 3 games, but this is the Heimer show. Pentakill just before 20 minutes.
I think Sidon is, Sidon probably owes Heimer, dessert or something after this game, because that was a massive misplay, Paladino. Sidon, as you point out, he had the teleport. I'm like, okay, he's going to back, maybe buy an item. He didn't teleport in that whole time. He cost his team the dragon. That's going to be something to keep an eye on because they were fighting 4v5 as that Syndra walked from base, but luckily Heimer was there for the pentakill to turn the fight around. They still lose the dragon. Mountain Soul makes this Arcadia team just a little bit more tankier, but you got to wonder what Sidon's saving this teleport for because that should have easily been a 5v5, and I bet you the result's the same. So luckily for the side of the Gothic Knights, Heimer finally was able to get his pop-off moment.
Yeah, certainly a bit of a question mark ping, opting to hold on to that TP and just walk on down. It was close. It was nearly just smited away by Lil Enzo, but not able to find it. But, you know, thankfully, they turned things around okay and grabbed themselves a pentakill. We're going to see the Gothic Knights now start to hit Baron, and this one is a sneak. They're not hitting this one on a Scuttle Crab ward this time, so they will have 4 up here. Keep in mind, Syndra did not DP to this Drake, so if this is contested, which it will not be, you can see everyone on the bottom right of your screen heading towards that bot side of the map. So Baron will be secured by the Gothic Knights, and their lead is only ballooning here, up 8,000 gold nearly here in game number 3. And Sidon, they'll know he's here because he's got the Baron buff. Heal comes down, but it cannot keep King Moron alive. That is the strength of this quote-unquote new Syndra. Her rework was out a while ago at this point, but so much scaling, especially even at level 13. I don't imagine he's got that final upgrade yet either, but on 2 items with those sword boots, he can blow up any squishy, and he shows just that. Having a fantastic game himself, and just great performances all around from the side of NJCU. They're going to keep pushing with this Baron buff. Hook will land onto Heimer, but he's only taking about half HP. Out comes the Ornhorn. The knockup's not going to come back out. Nautilus Assault will knock him up as well, but won't find anything else. So lots of ultimates used by the side of Arcadia to no avail, at least when it comes to any kills. There's plenty of shutdowns to be picked up if you are Arcadia, but it's just so difficult to find what you're looking for. You can see Arcadia now with a great plan, having 3 push here in the top lane. Syndra pushing on to the bot lane and being hovered here by Lil Enzo. Rank 12, level 12, so he's got rank 2 on the ultimate, so much more range available for him, and just great work. I've been really impressed. Every time that NJCU has gotten Baron, they've done such good work to really make it effective, and we're seeing more of the same here in game number 3.
I mean, this whole time we've been looking topside. Sidon has just been by himself. There's been no answer from Arcadia. He's most likely going to get this bot inhibitor turret. I mean, there's still over a minute on Baron. Yeah, he's going to simply finish this one off. And as you said, this has been some fantastic Baron value. I think the Gothic Knights have really shown in this series, especially in Game 2, when they have a lead, they're going to find a way to clamp down. It's already over 10k now. I expect probably a dragon fight win to clinch it is kind of the direction we're leaning in. If you're coming from Arcadia, I mean, they have the whole Wombo combo, right? It's going to have to be an Ornhorn onto 3 or 4 members. Heimer's got to be one of them. You're probably going to have to use the Nautilus ult onto Darius, which doesn't feel great, but if he gets 1 Q off onto this melee-centric comp, he's going to heal basically back to full health. So I think you've got to CC down Darius, which that doesn't feel great, but I think that's your win condition if you're Arcadia. Everything's got to land on Heimer, and you might have a chance if Sidon doesn't find a way to pick up a pentakill of his own this game, because he is very far ahead as well, sitting on 3 items.
Yeah, 3 items. Syndra, I mean, at this point, I know they have the Wombo combo of the Ornn and the Nautilus, and you can potentially land a big Echo Stun on top of it, but they're down over 10k gold. I don't even know if the Wombo combo works at this point. It's just so difficult. At some points in certain games, even if you have an ideal situation of what you want to happen, sometimes it's just the differential of the wallet, and right now NJCU have that certainly. They are going to get their first Drake of the game, however, despite being up over 10k gold, and at this point I don't think Drakes matter all that much. Only 2 towers stand for the side of Arcadia, and those are both defending the Nexus. All of these inhibitors are open, so I mean, we'll just wait and see. I think there might be a Nexus tower on this bot inhibitor. I'm not sure entirely. I can't quite tell. They're going to chase down, though. They do have some cutoff members. Neon Sonic just going to heal. 2 flashes, however, come out. There goes the Ornhorn. It will land onto 1. Band's trying to find the kill, but not going to find anything yet. Heimer will immediately get Nautilus ulted, and Sidon gonna dodge out on the hook once again, does get knocked up twice. Now Heimer in some trouble, heals up plenty with the Q, still alive for now. Gonna take a tower shot, however, so he will go down. Heaven's gonna go over to Vance. Sidon gets one of his own, it'll be King Moron picking up the kill. They're gonna turn their focus now onto this Syndra, and he is on the wrong side. Flashes away, this guy cannot get hit by a hook if he tried. Exhaust won't do enough, but means JAD goes 1 for 1. Neon Sonic about half HP, but he's just gonna hit this mid inhibitor. Other inhibitors are still the targets, and Sidon is very, very low. Bands with the Rocket Belt trying to get in range, but cannot find it yet, as it might be Vayu, but it's just a misjudge. Bands with a great use of the Echo ultimate to get on back to Sidon, gives him a big shutdown. Now Bands breaking the tether and gets another shutdown. So our lead of 10k has shrunk a little bit. We're at about 8k now, as lots of shutdowns go into the inventory of Band's GZ. We'll see what he's able to finish here. He does pick up 2 needlessly large rods. Not quite a full death cap for him yet, but a lot stronger is this Echo, and a glimmer of light, if you will, here for Arcadia at the 26-minute mark.
I think you're squinting pretty hard, Paladino, to see even a glimmer at this point.
A glimmer is, yes, a glimmer is the max, I would say. A sliver may be more accurate.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I do think that the longer the Gothic Knights let this game go on, the bigger the comeback potential, as small as it is for Arcadia. You can see they have the style. It wasn't the Wombo combo, but they executed perfectly. They stunned down Heimer, prevented him from getting a massive heal off, and were just able to find a way to kill him. And once Heimer fell, I think a little bit of discombobulation on the side of the Gothic Knights. Neon Sonic kind of got stuck just looking for inhibitors instead of trying to find a way to go down and help out Sidon, who has been playing out of his freaking mind this game. As you said, I don't think he's been hit by a hook, and he could probably just stand there, and the forces of his just raw power would force Viru to miss. We're going to get this Baron. I think this will probably be GG, but again, I think an executed team fight, maybe using those Nexus towers to force Heimer to take some extra damage. There's definitely a way for Arcadia to continue to extend this game. Maybe find a Mountain Soul off the back of it and get tanky enough that, I'm not a believer, Paladino. I know where you stand on the, we're farming super minions for bonus gold, but they do at least have that in their back pocket.
Yeah, super minions feel good if there's no real threat of them to end, but now Baron, and it's about to be triple inhib. The threat to end is much more than a threat. Big double stun. We're going to see Bands try and go in. Does get Sidon fairly low, so could potentially mean a dead Syndra. Will pop the Renata W, so that means the mid laner is going to be taken out with this one very, very early. Token Tail gets 1 kill, but Sidon responds back with the one on Vayu. Heimer now still alive, but will go down. Lilon took his kill onto the Echo. Neon Sonic will fall as well, so King Moran gets another. So this one a lot closer. The 6th will fall, and now Lil Enzo will go down as well. So we are not done yet. Triple kill for King Moran. I think that, truthfully, I probably would have made the same mistake. The Gothic Knights just think they have more damage, think they can get more done, and just not quite able to. Sidon falls very, very early, and the Wombo combo works. So now they can farm up some more of this gold, and they're only down 6k. So I think my sliver of light has started to turn into a glimmer, as they also potentially have Mountain Soul in 30 seconds.
Mountain Soul, the fact that Heimer's on Darius means it's a top laner who doesn't have teleport, because we're kind of in that range where if a minion wave sneaks through as you're trying to find Mountain Soul, you would have backdoor potential, but it's only Sidon who can do that, and you'd much rather have a Darius pushing towers than a Syndra. I think this Dragon execution is kind of going to be where Arcadia either extends the game or falls apart, because again, you have to be careful. You have super minions pushing in, Token's going to have to back. You don't have a great wave clear with teleport, because again, it's only Token that has teleport. I think they're going to have to make the call. Unfortunately, they waited too long, so Gothic takes away what was their continuation of a glimmer. I'd say it's back down to just a small sliver of light, because they really need Earth Mountain Soul to just be tanky enough to continue to win these fights.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the right call, truthfully. Maybe if the death timers were a little bit longer or it happened a little bit later, it's possible. But you have a real concern with, I think if you commit to that Drake, you almost certainly have to commit tokens TP, and then you can have Sidon TP to your base. If he has a wave, didn't really have a wave, so it would have probably been okay regardless. And it's a mage, so it's not as fast going to take the towers, but this is a very strong Syndra. But still, I don't hate the call. I think it's a little bit better. Just keep farming up, get gold on map. They did just finish Infinity Edge, I think, on this Kaisa, excuse me. King Moron will grab himself his 4th item, so it's very strong compared to Neon Sonic. And JAD has finished that Muramena, I believe, a while ago, so that poke damage is going to be doing quite a bit. And again, keep in mind, when it comes to scaling for the side of Arcadia, they've got the Ornn. So if things go later, he gets more levels, he's going to start putting those mythic upgrades on more of his teammates. And also a death cap finished for Bands. We already saw one team fight win for the side of Arcadia in their base, and I don't think it's a bad idea to just hang out, wait around, and make them come to you and try and force your hand with your engaged comp. We'll see what they're able to do here, as now all 3 inhibitors have respawned, so they won't have the influx of XP and gold of those supers anymore, but any wrong slip up from Arcadia will almost certainly mean that this one is over. It's just either side. Whoever makes the mistake first, I think, will be the one who has the detriment. Arcadia certainly has the mountain to climb, but NJCU have had this one become a little bit harder than it was about 10 minutes ago. We're going to see a fight here in the mid lane, but Band's just not going to find anything. They'll just clear out the wave instead.
Yeah, I think Arcadia is playing this situation perfectly. They're not the ones looking for picks. They're forcing the Gothic Knights to be the aggressors, to take fights in their base. They are going to have to start actually fighting around these inhibitors instead of just fighting after the inhibitors have gone down. They cannot continue to allow super minions to pour into their base. This is going to be this time where you got to maybe be the aggressor if you're Arcadia, but don't chase out of your base. They're playing perfectly for the strategy they have. And I will say, as you mentioned about the Ornn call-out was fantastic, because this 5K, 6K gold deficit really isn't that much when you account for those Ornn items. It's a lot closer to 2,000, 3,000 gold. And I really think Arcadia, they just need to find a way to win a fight in an aggressive manner, because winning is defensively, as you said, one mistake and it's game over. They need to get in the spot where they can make a mistake and stay in this game.
Yeah, they've defended their inhibitors so far. I think what I would have liked to potentially see NJCU do, maybe, I'm not sure if it would have worked, is I think they could have, if they wanted to force anything, instead of just farming up waves and pushing them in, they could have potentially tried to force bot. I think if you're going to force in any of these lanes before Baron spawns, it would have needed to be bot lane. If you can knock down that bot inhibitor and have supers come in when Baron spawns, it's going to be much, much easier. But instead, they're not going to force anything. They'll just farm up waves. It is important to note that even if fights do go wrong here from this point for NJCU, and they're not able to get anything, and Arcadia gets a good fight, there's only been one tower taken by Arcadia. Tier 1 is still up in mid and top, with the only tower taken at Tier 1 in the bot lane. So they have a lot of work to do if they continue to keep winning these team fights with this scaling comp. But again, it's not particularly the easiest. This will be a Baron, at least dance, from both of these sides. Remember, no super minions means that they can at the very least consider to hang around here, but it will 100% be NJCU with the vision control. They've got plenty of control wards to block out anything from the side of Arcadia, but JAD does know where they are, so he's going to be able to poke down as much as he wants.
They gotta go, because look at...
could be in some trouble. Yeah, Sidon, yes.
Sidon, yeah.
Yeah, Sidon pushing on the bot lane. Here comes the Horn. It goes on to 1, but it's just going to be spell shielded right away. We're going to see the TP coming out from Sidon now, as the hostile takeover is huge, but it'll instantly be Little Enzo going in. Sidon blows up JAD right away. Little Enzo does pick up 1, as the Nautilus will fall. Token Tail will fall as well, and now Bands will go down. Or excuse me, Bands still alive. He picks up the 6th, and they aren't making the same mistake they had last time. Or excuse me, that was the reverse. Arcadia with the chase we saw in Game 1. NJCU, no, they do not need to do that here in Game 3. Arcadia made it closer than I thought it was going to be, especially once we had that big lead, but now this is a 1 versus 4. We'll see if Benz can get anything done. He's trying to look for an angle, but he cannot defend these Nexus turrets. Too high health bars, too much damage. He tries to go in, immediately gets stunned up. We'll see if they can get the kill before the Nexus falls. They are not able to. And it is another win. Back-to-back W's here for the side of NJCU. They dropped game 1 despite the early lead they had, but game 2, a super stomp. Game 3 was looking that way. They started to throw a little bit, but a W in the win column regardless. So they take this series over Arcadia.
I'll be honest, I don't think you can call game 3 a throw. I think Arcadia just played the defense nearly perfect. I think at the very end, one can play. As soon as Sidon teleported, you needed to back off, and you needed to say, all right, we got the teleport, let's reset. At some point, though, they had to be the aggressor, or we could have been here for another 15 minutes. A great series by both these teams, and it really does feel like for the Gothic Knights, I think, they figured out their comp. I mean, you look at it, they brought Sidon in the mid, they rotated down Neon Sonic down to that bot lane, and things seemed to work. I think they could even win with She-Wolf Ash. I think a lot of those problems were maybe from just the Maokai pick in general for little Enzo, but it really feels like once Sidon came in, that mid lane was completely favored for the Gothic Knights. They have figured things out. I think they're going to go very, very far on the side of Arcadia. I think they have some very strong ideas. I think maybe the big one, finding something else for Token Tail to play. As you pointed out, he was countered all series. It really feels like, as we joked about off air, he's pretty much in orange jail if Cassante is banned. Probably needs to find something else that he can kind of flex to, but I thought this was a really well played series, and the Gothic Knights flexing some muscle there to kind of get that reverse sweep in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it looked good too. They did it in dominant fashion, especially in game 2, and of course they got a pentakill in game 3. So I agree with you. It was not necessarily a throw in game number 3. It was just some good defense from Arcadia, but not enough. The difference in the gold was just a little too much to withstand. But that's all from our first series. We should have another one coming at you here in just a little bit. Oh, excuse me, it'll be rescheduled. Sorry, here from production. So that is all from us here on NECC2. We had a banger series. It went the distance, and had a good time casting it with you, Fish. I hope you had a good evening as well.
Oh, anytime you get a full 3-game series that was relatively close, we'll ignore game 2 a little bit. No, always a pleasure, pal. I feel like our series are always fantastic. As he said, no NECC 2 game, I guess to say, but there's still games on the main channel, so you don't want to miss it, because as we just saw, you never know what's going to happen in the NECC.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolute bangers tonight here, and I'm sure there'll be more on the main channel as well. So go check those out. But that's all from us here on NECC2. Thank you all so much for watching. That's all from us. Have a good day.